you know?
There's a lot of gatekeeping already. Why do you just...
I think that the only reason to not want damage meters is very simply you're scared to get your feelings hurt that you're not as good as you think you are, or you're afraid that other people are going to find out that you're not very good. And I think that that's a bad way to look at it. You should have to look at it in the sense that that's how you're going to be a better player, and that's how you're going to show people that you're a better player. I'm surprised World of Warcraft never did an anime. If they put those people on an anime rather than like office crawls, that would have been really good for the game. You know what I'm saying?
No, I'm saying
there's been a lot of controversy on Lost Ark lately about damage meters, and I personally, having played every MMO, there's no reason ever for there not to be a damage meter. Honestly, I think it would be good for the game, and I genuinely think that it's good for more people to have damage meters because it really simply just makes you better at the game. People are talking about gatekeeping and keeping people out of the raids. I'm not inviting this guy because his damage is low. How would you know his damage is low until he's in the actual raid itself? There's already 400 systems to keep you out of the raid, and if you have a level of gear, a level of requirement, you're allowed to enter. But if you don't have like, oh, you don't have 5x3, oh, your gems suck, oh, your stats suck. Well, your stats sucking is like, that's a big problem. You're not getting invited if your stats suck. That is what it is. But you already have this like giant wall to go over, you know?
There's a lot of gatekeeping. You gatekeep yourself. Who cares if a bunch of people in NA want the damage meters? Let the NA people have the damage meters. Seems like the Korean servers don't want the damage meters.
Well, okay. Well, let me put it this way: would you go play World of Warcraft again without a damage meter?
I wouldn't.
Would you go play Final Fantasy without a damage meter?
No, I think we just have a culture of damage meters over here. Doesn't matter how toxic anybody thinks it is. Like any MMO we played throughout the years, there's always damage meters.
Every single time. Why do people want the damage meters? It's never initially toxic, right? It's our culture. It's like, why we want to NAEU, we want to know our damage, we want to know how much we're doing, but it's not just about how much damage you're doing, it's about how you're dealing your damage, because I don't feel like a lot of people really understand the damage meter at like a base value of usually you can understand your breakdowns, you can understand like what you did wrong, you can understand what your better skills are versus your worst skills. And I feel like most people can't just do that on a target dummy. It's like, okay, well, how much does this do? How much health did that remove from the boss? And then like it puts a mental scenario where it's like, how much damage am I removing from a real boss? Because the only way to test your damage is like in the test room on Lost Ark, and you can only test on the target dummy. But like in a real situation, you're never going to be able to do as much damage as you can on the target dummy, because the target dummy doesn't fight back. It doesn't even move. Most of the bosses have like snap abilities and stuff. And I do really think the damage meter, if it was provided by like Smilegate, and they let you see your breakdowns, they let you see what you could have done better. And then like, it's like at this stage of the fight, like, you know, like an advanced logging tool, right? Like not even just a damage meter, but if there's like a Warcraft logs for Lost Ark, it would be so much better, honestly. I think that the main reason that people don't want the damage meter is because there's so many walls and initial, like you have to meet the requirements to get in the raid, right? But there's also like a personal check. Like a lot of people talk about how the whales can't beat the raid. There's lots of, they skip mechanics all the time. If you're high in a fighting level, you skip half the fight on Lost Ark, right? So you can move past all the mechanics. You don't really have to worry about it. All the like in between stuff that's like fairly difficult, you can skip whole phases, right? And then you look at somebody who has lower gear, of course they can't, but then the thing comes in when that 1520, 1540 player gets beaten by a 1490 player on NA, or a 1460 player beats like a 1500 plus player. If the player that was higher item level got beaten by them, they would get looked at it as like, are they bad? Did they just have a bad run? You know, and I feel like the only reason to not have a damage meter is personal feelings getting hurt, right? Because there's already so many things to keep you out of the raid. Like you don't have the right build, right setup, you're not allowed in anyways. So you have to hit that mark first. And at the end of the day, that's all about paying, right? Like you pay so much, either time or money, right, to be able to even go in the raid. Like you pay in money just to gear cap if you want, or you pay in time by having to gear cap, right? And at the time one you can't actually gear cap with, but the money one you sure can. So
I noticed looking at all these DPS meters that pop up all the time in Discords and on Reddits and stuff like that.
Yeah.
That a lot of top end people I see at these DPS meters, they always have the lower item level compared to like the group of people they're with. There's always a guy with like 1500 or something who's like third place, and I'm like, he has the best gear, But if I was making a group, I'd rather bring the guy who's 1460 because he can pop off with his gear.
Well, right, but that's the whole thing about Lost Ark is you always want to invite the higher item level player because he's going to do better, right? But what if you see those players not doing better?
But that's like assumption they're always going to do better. I mean, like, think about it.
Well, it isn't right, but like in WoW, you're obviously going to invite the higher item level player or the lower item level one. But then you look directly at like Warcraft logs or Mythic Plus. Nobody's going to go check your Warcraft logs before they invite you to a group. That's way too much work, right? But what people are checking is like, are you going to go to a Mythic Plus? They're going to check your Mythic Plus score, right? So is your Mythic Plus score good? And I think that that's something we talked about in the last video. The MVP score would be very similar to the Mythic Plus score. And from a bunch of the feedback I got in the comments, even if we didn't have a damage meter, right, which like it kind of looks like feelings are going to keep damage meters out of the game. And that's fine for the other regions, but I definitely would like to see a damage meter on NA. But even if we don't get a damage meter, I think that something similar to the Mythic Plus scoring system is coming to Lost Ark with the new MVP screens, where it's like you can see how somebody's done in the past, you can see how well they've done, and I think that's going to create another hoop to jump through, where it's like this guy can't MVP, this guy can't do anything, right? And like, if that's visible to other people on your profile, that's going to be a way bigger gatekeep, right? And that'd be way worse for the game than any damage meter could possibly be, is if you could see how somebody did in the past. Like, this guy's killed Vicus 10 times. He hasn't gotten in the top 4 a single time, right? You're like, I don't want to invite him. Bro, there's people that don't get in the top 4 in 4-man groups. They don't even appear on the board. And I think that the massive disconnect that we're having with like the NA player base and the EU player base is like, yeah, we kind of want a damage meter. And then like the KR player base that doesn't want the damage meter is that we've had damage meters in every game we've played and we actually like them, but we want to improve with the damage meters, right? Now, there's obviously always going to be your 1% of extremely toxic people that are just going to use them to gatekeep and keep people out. But like we said, there's already gatekeeping. There's already keeping people out. So a damage meter isn't going to make that worse, I don't think.
I don't know. I think the Korean streamers seem to think that like the veneer of there's no gatekeep, because it's easy to say there's no gatekeeping when there's no numbers to look at and be like, oh, for sure you're doing bad, so I don't want to come. I don't want you to come to my little dungeon group or my raid because your DPS numbers are bad. That's like a for sure metric to measure someone on now, right? Before it was just like, oh, you take some screenshots of some MVP scores. Maybe that group of people you're with were really terribly geared and you just popped off. Doesn't mean you're really, really good.
That's a good point, right? Like, you can pop all these MVP screens up like I do, but like that's why in the last Berserker video, I inspected the people in my group in one of them, just so you could see like the difference, right? Yeah. And it's, you see these 1520 guys, I'm 1490, you see 1520, 1540, you see these guys getting blasted on damage, bro, right? And you're like, how? You know? And that's where I really wish I could see a damage breakdown, and in the sense of actually, like, you know, people say that this would be bad for casuals. I think this would be good for casuals because, and the main reason is that the gearing stops mattering as much, right? But I mean, that's always going to be a thing. You're never going to be able to see somebody's damage before you enter. I know that they were talking about some like Warcraft logs type thing for Lost Ark. That just doesn't work. Like, it just doesn't. There's so many. No, there's just too many gimmicks you can do to like you can break that easily, right? But I guess you can do that on the other Warcraft logs too.
Yeah.
But the main point is a damage meter. You come in, you can understand your damage breakdowns. You can understand where your damage is coming from. You can fill out your rotation, and then you can look back on the boss and be like, what did I do wrong and how do I get better? When I'm on the target dummy, my top damage is this ability, but when I'm on the boss, my top damage is this ability. Why is that? You know what I mean? And I think that's something a lot of people don't look at, and they really don't think about, is how much of an improvement it can make for people, right? So like, yeah, sure, your damage could be really, really low and you die early, or the boss just looks at you, get like 30 mechanics in a row and you do low DPS, right? Nobody's going to fault you for doing low DPS in those situations. Nobody cares. Like, anybody who's currently running a damage meter, which like every pug I've been in, you go join. I like joining Discords with the pugs that I join because like it's fun to meet new people. It's an MMO. I just like talking to people, right? In their Discords, they're always slamming damage meters out. I won't touch it because like I obviously don't want to get banned, because like I actually really love the game. But that's also why I'm kind of advocating to like want to see a damage breakdown, because every time you see a damage breakdown, you're like, wow, man, like you can really see the difference between somebody who's a master and somebody who's like not, right? And like you said, the higher item level people are getting beat by the lower item level people.
Yeah.
And I think that that's the reason they don't want it in the game, is because if you paid so much money for something and then suddenly you're like, why is this guy who's 40, 50 item levels lower than me out DPSing me? Of course you're going to be unhappy, and you're probably not going to keep spending money on the game because you'll think, what's the point? But I think that's a different perspective. Like, you're going to look at it like that if you're spending too much money and you're not good at games, right? Versus like if you're good at gaming and you understand, the real POV of that would be like, okay, if that guy's doing better than me, what can I do better? How many mechanics happen to me versus him just getting to stand there? A lot of people don't record. People don't have computers to record while they play, right? That's fine. Like, that's not a big deal. So like, not a lot of people have the blessing and the ability to be able to record their gameplay and watch it back. And I would honestly say the best way to get good at any game ever, the best possible way to get better at gaming, is you record yourself while you play and you watch your VOD through and you understand what you did wrong. You can pick out so many more mistakes when you can watch yourself play again, right? It's so valuable and it's so important. And I think a damage meter is like the first step to that, to be able to understand your breakdown and what you did.
I think a damage meter will help people get better in Lost Ark because it gives them another place to practice. Because like you said, you can only practice inside on the training dummies, right?
Yep.
So most fights in any MMO, you're never going to have 100% uptime like you do on a training dummy. Let's just be honest, right?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And there's situations where you might be going through your rotation, and you're like, you take a boss hit because whatever reason, you lag, you just bad or whatever, right?
Mm-hmm.
You have to use a pot, press something out of rotation, and then you have to get back on rotation, start doing damage again, right?
Yep.
What do you do in that situation if you just always are used to a training dummy where you're just pressing the same rotation over and over again, right? And I don't think a lot of people go out their way to like practice situations like, what happens if I have to press a health pod and like stop attack for 5 seconds? All my abilities reset. Do I just restart? Do I do something new? Like, you know?
Well, that's one thing I advocated pretty heavily in the last Berserker update video, which like, I think was honestly the best Berserker video I've done other than the very first one, because it really shows you like, what if a mistake happens? What if something goes wrong? And like, it shows you in real situations where like, okay, now you can fix this scenario. You can make this better. Like, things can work out for you. But like, if you don't understand your damage breakdowns, like, it's very difficult to be like, what would the best order of skills be, you know? And like, your only metric would be like, okay, when I cast Red Dust, then my finish strike does the most damage, and then my second highest is Bloody Rush. But by how much, right? You have to DPS for a minute. You have to, you'd have to record it. You'd have to write down every individual damage thing, and you basically be making a damage meter yourself. It's just adding another layer of complexity to the game and removing information like BDO does for no particular reason, right? Especially in the training room, there should be a damage breakdown to tell you which ability does what, how much damage each thing does, right? They don't want to give damage meters to everybody. You could give a damage meter to an individual in the practice room to help them get better at the game and maybe expand the practice room stuff. But I personally see everywhere that people think it's going to be toxic. It's going to gatekeep people. It's going to make people feel bad. And every experience I've had with a damage meter, initially I agreed with everybody, by the way. Initially up front, I was like, you know what? They're probably right. Lost Ark doesn't need a damage meter. And then the more I thought about it, the more I looked into it, and the more like I tried to min-max and get better and better, I was like, this would all be so much easier if I had a damage meter. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
much more enjoyable too.
Well, if we look at like details, you can like hover over your abilities. This is World of Warcraft damage meter called details, but one probably like the closest you get to Warcraft logs in game. Hover over your ability, it tells you if you crit, you didn't crit, uptime. One thing that people don't respect is like uptime on bosses, right? Everybody should have about the same uptime on a boss, and like that's something that Warcraft logs does that's really important, right? And I feel like a lot of people have a lot of downtime because they're too scared of the bosses and they don't properly learn them initially. But like being able to tell like what happened in your breakdown is really important, because like if I could look at like, okay, like if I was in my Berserk in the last video, I hit Vicus twice with 2 ults that didn't crit, you know, it would be nice to see like, okay, I know that they crit for I know that they both do 100 million if they crit, but if they don't crit, they only do like, you know, a total of like 60 million. So I missed out on 140 million damage, right? How much does that correlate into my overall breakdown? Because I can't see how much actual damage I did in a live fight. what would I have? What would I have done? You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I would like to see what could, I don't know. There's so much information, and like, I'm a very information focused person. Like, I love seeing all the breakdowns, all the informatics. I've made a million guides about stuff, and I love it. Like, I love that kind of stuff. So like, for me, having a damage meter would make the game so much more fun and like interesting for me, because I get to see my breakdowns. I get to see all this different stuff, and it helps me improve as a player and helps me get better. And I think too many people are worried about it negatively affecting casuals and like pushing the game in a toxic direction, because the game's already monetized in a toxic direction. So it's like adding something that could help a casual player look better might get them invited back to a party. Because if that casual player comes in, he's 1475 and he blasts the 1490 player, or he's 14, he blasts him, does way more damage than him, and other people can see that, that guy might have an easier time getting group next week.
Way more opportunities.
Yeah, I genuinely think that a damage meter opens opportunities up for casuals, because they can prove themselves. They can be better than these higher item level people with the perfect loadout, right? And
there are a lot of people like that out there too.
There's a ton of people that are like that. And you saw it all the time on World of Warcraft, all the time on Final Fantasy, all the time you see these guys that are way better than the people. Well, you can't really, okay, you can, but like,
they press the buttons better. They press them better. They press them faster sometimes, and that's all it takes.
Yeah, and it shouldn't just be shouldn't just be about gear, honestly. That's one thing. Like, just your gear sheet shouldn't be the reason. Like, it should be like, okay, do you meet the minimum requirements? Yes. Right? Now I have to choose between the guy who meets the minimum requirements and the guy who's like well above him, right? But like, if I know last week that I had Billy and he did tons of damage, right? And he played like a god, he made no mistakes, I'm going to want to bring him back. I'm going to be like, yo, man, you're actually really good. And then you can grow with him and like maybe make a new friend, right? Of somebody who might be new or casual, right? I honestly feel like a damage meter would be better for casuals.
Yeah, it gives them more opportunities to just participate. If you show off, if you're a good player, I mean, who are you going to take to your next raid if this guy pops off? He's 20 item level under everybody else in your raid group, and you could choose between that guy or a guy who wailed out, right? And he doesn't know any of the fight. You'd rather just take the guy you know could pop off, compete with you guys, right?
Like, okay, it's not a secret. If you tried a random pug hell mode group and you're in Discord with the people are spamming damage meters all over the place, right? Like, and they kick people out fairly quickly that aren't doing well, right? And it's like, people, last time I brought this up, people were like, you should have reported them. You should have. How can I correlate a report? Like, so I ticket Amazon and be like, yo, like, this guy's using a damage meter
in Discord.
And like, his Discord name's not the same as his in-game name. Like, give me a break. You know what I mean? Like, you can't just report people for that. They're not going to get banned. So like, stop spamming with that, because it's like, it's not going to work. Sure, I could report them in game, right? But like,
I don't know.
I don't.
They permaban people in Korea for damage meters, but I don't think they will ban anybody here. Might ban them for like a week.
Well, I think even the RMT bans were like 3 to 6 months. So I'm wondering how long if somebody has gotten banned for damage meter in NA, let me know, or EU, just let me know how long that ban actually is, because I'm genuinely curious what that ban actually could be. But it's always been a dick measuring contest at the end of the day, right? For like NA, EU, China, South America, Australia, everybody. Like, we're all like in this crazy dick measuring contest where we're like, who's the best? Who can be better? And everybody always wants to be the best and try harder and be better, right? And then like, I've never in my point in time when playing any games have left a casual player out at all. You know, I usually don't. I actually have an item on Lost Ark. I have a limit for item level. I won't invite above a certain item level, right? Like, that adds another layer of gatekeeping, because I know for a fact that these people that are too high item level aren't as good as the people in my bracket.
Well, the Lost Ark play loop doesn't push you into anything casual. It pushes you into all the high-end content, basically.
That's true, right? Like, there isn't a lot to do. Like, it's just you get pushed into doing, right? Then when you wanted, because your whole point is pushing item level, pushing damage, getting better and bigger at the game. Wouldn't you want to see how? Wouldn't you want to see how good you're doing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, when I think about it like that, it's like, man, now you want it more. It makes me want it more. Yeah. Well, yeah, that's the whole point of the game, is being better and stronger.
the game is like, hey, get your numbers really high so you can go hit that raid boss that we're sending out to you guys next week and go kill him real quick. And then we're gonna send another one out to you guys.
By the way, so many people were mad about me like calling out like, yo, like the new item level for Arcana is too high. You shouldn't release it for like too high of an item level. It should be more balanced out so more people could access hard mode. And I still personally believe that. I think that both modes should have been 10 to 15 item levels lower than they are personally. And the only reason for that is like I understand that they want to grab people and make them push higher and push above, and they did because they did sit on that content for a really long time, right? But when I think about when it's going to come out in NAEU, how long are we going to have between then, right? Like how long is actually like Clown comes out next week, and I'm super excited for Cuckoo the Clown, right? But like he's supposedly one of the hardest raids in Lost Ark, right? And I would say that his mechanics are challenging, right? And I think that most people will have a lot of trouble with him, but the higher item level you are, the easier the boss is. Like that's as simple as Cuckoo gets. Like you could, but to an extent, it's like Vicus. Like there's only so far an item level can take you before the boss just is like you're either too garbage to do the boss, right?
You have to do a mechanic. There's one
exactly right. And I think one thing that has happened is that, and is going to happen more on Clown than it did on Vicus and on Vulcan, because on Vicus and Vulcan, the fights are like fairly forgiving, except for like a couple mechanics, right?
Yeah.
Like Gate 1 Vicus, I would say, has like the most demanding mechanic where like you have to run an orb in, right? And only 3 people have to pass it on hard mode. So it's like, I've seen a lot of people get kicked out of groups and pugs for that one. And that's like easy. It's like, oh, match the colors. But like, if you don't know, you don't know. On Clown, there's a million things you're going to get kicked out of the group for. And I think that if you make too many mistakes with these guys, right, you see it a lot in the group finders too, especially when the raids first come out. Don't invite this guy's name, he's trash. You see that posted up there and you're like, man, they just had a terrible experience with this guy, right? And I feel like that's really bad compared to like, okay, imagine the situation where you knew that guy was doing bad before he did so bad, right? Because obviously if he can't do the mechanics, then he's probably not doing very good damage because he never took the time to learn to fight.
It just seems like the vibe of Lost Ark is that you go get your guides right now, right, for your class, and then that's it. Then you go do the bosses and you try to experience the boss for the first time just by queuing into it, and you go do it. But then that creates a situation, like you said, where people start to hate on you, and you have to learn, or you get lucky where Mr. Claysthetics goes like, "I'll teach you," and you teach them how to do the boss real quick. Most people don't do that. I mean, that's when I was playing. I remember playing up. I was like trying to catch up to you guys. I did some of those like raids and stuff. I jump in some raids. I watched the videos because like I played other MMOs. Like I didn't want to wipe, so I like watched some videos.
Yeah,
I try to find videos. They're hard to find. Like I don't think there's a culture of these like the people going and finding these videos.
Oh, I think people weren't making raid, or there's tons of guides for the Legion raids, but like when you're talking about, like you were just talking about a Reha, right? And like
just like the dumb stuff,
or like the easy raids had nothing.
The underwater stuff, where you're underwater with 8 people or whatever.
Yeah, Alarak Sanctuary. The fact that they made the NA and EU play through tier 1 and tier 2 like it was going to help people learn the game, that blew my mind, bro. Like they had no clue. People just they ignored that whole part of the game. They did not care.
And then they were just kicking people that didn't know the mechanics, because everybody just like I said, just kind of just went into it going like, I'm gonna learn it as I do it. And everybody already learned it as they do it or doing it again, so they don't want to teach nobody, so they get kicked. But then none of these people are going online and finding the video. I mean, I found a video, but like I had to go through someone's VOD and some guy explained how to do it. I don't remember how I found it. Well,
that's because Areha wasn't really like meant as a challenge, but like Alarak Sanctuary is very old, right?
Yeah.
So like those are they would be harder to find videos for, right? But like as new stuff comes out in NA, people are like, yo, I'm gonna launch this is the new raid guide, you know what I mean? I don't think I've done that at all. I think I just like talk and play, and I'm like, yeah, this is how I did Gate 3.
There's more of them now. But remember, that's when I first started. That was the issue.
Yeah, in March there really wasn't a lot of tier 2 videos out actually, and yeah, sure, there was if you knew like the certain things to look for on YouTube, but I actually saw that a lot in my comments on those videos was like, yo, like, what do I do? Like, do you have a video for like this boss in particular? And I'd be like, no, I don't. You know what I mean? And then I would have one a couple days later, right? Because like if that's what people are asking for, that's just what you put out. So it wasn't really a big deal to go about that route and doing it. But what was a big deal was that, like you said, people were getting kicked out of the parties because they didn't know the mechanics, right? So I think that learning parties are important. Again, I think the casual players are important. I think like catering to casuals to an extent is how you keep a game alive, right? Like you don't want casuals doing like things that they shouldn't be doing, right? Like something like, you know, their first time on hard mode and they're equal item level to the boss and they're in a group that isn't a learning group, right? Like they're in a real group and then like people get mad and kick them, right?
I think the key to that is catering to casuals and to high-end players, not just one group or the other.
I think that the cater to the
casual things in Lost Ark.
There isn't. There really isn't. Like it's go collect Makoko seeds, and then it's go collect the hearts. Go collect, like you do all that stuff,
like
right?
really engaging casual stuff, like you know.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Go, this raid's coming out. This raid's coming out.
Yeah, as much as
calls everybody to end game stuff, but they don't give you the tools to do end game stuff like a DPS meter.
Oh, that's a good point.
Like you gotta do hell mode, whatever, but then you can't break down your DPS, and this is supposed to be the hardest content in the game. You're supposed to like wing it.
Yeah, like you got to think like you go into the hard mode stuff and you have to play a brand new build, right? Because none of the hell mode builds are the same as the hard mode builds, right? Like they're completely different. Because like the hard mode build is built for you to succeed on your own or with a support, but not with this insane amount of stagger. But like a hell mode build is usually built around you having to play as like an 8-man team. But like a normal build is built to like, okay, I'm going to go do like, you know, my guardian raids for the day, and I'm going to go do my chaos dungeons, and you're going to do whatever you're going to do for the day, right? And then like that's what that's catered towards, right? But you have to play this brand new build, brand new play style. I think it would be very helpful, right? If you had a meter to be able to be like, okay, like these are my breakdowns. This is what I should be doing. This is what I shouldn't be doing. But I don't think a lot of people look at it like that. I think a lot of people look directly at the damage meter as this toxic, negative gatekeeping thing in the game. And maybe they look at it like that because there's already so many ways for you to not get invited to a party. I don't think they want to add another one. But I think that adding the damage meter would have more opportunities for people to get invited to parties in the future.
You can look at it as a tool to combat the toxicity instead of just looking at it as another tool for toxicity.
Yeah, I feel like it's really easy to put a negative spin on everything and then you preach that negative opinion and it's like, okay, like, but what are the positives? And that's what I like to look at too. And we say that a lot. Like we do talk about negatives, right? And I think it's important to talk about the negatives. That way there's issues that are handled. But I think at the same time, the issues being handled, there also needs to be like a connection where it's like, okay, that's the negative part about it. What are the positives to having a damage meter? And it's like, well, it's to help people improve and get better.
Yeah, like at the end of the day, anything could be negative. Like
yeah, it's very easy to keep things negative, right? It's hard to put a positive spin on everything because not everything is positive. So.
Like any system in a game can be negative at one point, but can also a lot of these systems in games could be positive too if they're done right. It's about doing them right.
I'm just really hoping that the situation you're talking about works for the new MVP system. And instead of just being the new MVP system, it adds the breakdowns. It adds what you could have, maybe not even what you could have done better, but like, you know, MVP, you click on your guy and you're like, here's a full breakdown of all your damage skills, right? Maybe other people can't see it. Maybe other people can see it. Like I would prefer to be able to see what everybody did. Personally, I would love to be able to open a little panel up at the end of the raid and click on each individual player and have an in-game option to be like, okay, what did this guy do? How did he do? And then like, you're like, oh yeah, he got knocked across the room by X ability, you know, and you laugh about it. And it's not a big deal, right? Like you're like, oh, that's what happened there. He had a huge drop in the fight, like a full combat breakdown of the fight to help people get better. Like that's it. And I think it would help so many people genuinely get better at Lost Ark that the game would be a better experience for more and more people. Because right now it's kind of like you push everybody into those high-end raids, right? And hard mode raids, like I don't exactly think they're high-end raids because the dev said that they want those raids to be puggable, right? But so many people say they have toxic pug problems and they're so against the damage meter, but a damage meter would make all the pugs better because then they're learning how to play their characters to like an extent to be better than other people. So you have an evolution opportunity, rather than like the current system where it's like if somebody doesn't throw a bomb, you kick them, and if somebody messes the mechanic up, you kick them, right? But maybe those people would care more if they looked bad.
It's really ironic, I think, after all these years, that the casual content in Lost Ark, MMO, by the way, right, is rating. When throughout the years, rating was always the high-end content.
That's true, right? You look at WoW, you look at Final Fantasy, it's like, what do your best players do? They go raid. You know what I mean?
Raid,
they
or
prep, they go
PvP,
crazy.
or whatever, right?
Yeah.
And then the casuals have their own set of things they do, or they dip their toes in, right?
Okay.
But then you go to Lost Ark and the casual content's the raids. Well, like I see like premier content, like the premier, like for the casuals, it's what you guys come here to do, and it's like raiding.
Yeah, well, that's the whole point of Lost Ark is raiding essentially now, right? Like,
Yeah,
you're right
so
about that, and getting your gear score up, right? But just to break it down in those 3 classes, right? Super casual content, Chaos Dungeons, normal mode, and Guardians, right? Pretty fair. Intermediate content, probably hard mode, but this is still like casual area. You know what I mean? Like most casual players can do intermediate content, no problem. And then your big hard content is the hell modes, right? And then you have those 3 stages. And like most casual players aren't going to touch hell mode because it's a waste of their resources, it's a waste of their account, right? But they will go touch normal mode, they will go touch hard mode, especially hard mode, because it's like it's just more materials every week. There's nothing really inherently special about a hard mode other than more materials. And I guess the mechanics work slightly differently so that they're extremely forgiving on normal mode, where you can time stop probably everything in the fight that goes wrong. And then on hard mode, you're not allowed to time stop it. And everybody gets funneled into the hard modes eventually, right? So I don't exactly think that should be called anything more than casual content too.
So why can't we have DPS meters if all the content revolves around us fighting and killing mobs?
Raid bosses too, right? So like you want to, and like, yeah.
Like that's just another tool for that, right?
Yeah. No, I think the damage meter has a lot of positives with a low amount of negatives. Like I said, initially I thought that damage meters would be bad for the game, but then over time, I thought that they were good for the game. And now, after thinking about how much they benefited me on World of Warcraft, on Final Fantasy, on every other MMO that I've played, to help me actually just get better at the game and be a better player, I think that Lost Ark should have damage meters. And I think that anyone who doesn't think that Lost Ark should have damage meters is simply saying that because they think their feelings are going to get hurt or other people's feelings are going to get hurt. But on no game, even WoW, do people's feelings really get hurt on a damage meter anymore.
Fair. I don't really see drama around damage meters in any game. I can't remember. The only drama I've seen around with people's damage is tied to the websites or logs.
Yeah, that's when you start having a logging website, that's when things start getting toxic. Yeah.
The drama was never with the low end of the players. It was always with the high end of the players, where it's like they have to keep track of their logs and have really good logs, and they
get into better guilds.
Logs to get into better guilds, and that gets into the high end players, right? We're not talking about those. We're talking about the casuals.
Well, the casual players could have fun with the damage meter and be like, "Oh, this is cool."
Never issues, like I never ran into issues. Even just seeing and reading things throughout the years of playing games or MMOs throughout the years, there's never issues. And when there were issues, they're like people made fun of them. Even in the group, they're like memed out issues. Like,
yeah,
you're not doing enough damage on this old raid, and people are like, "What are you talking about, bro?"
Like, who cares? Right? Yeah, like, who cares? You know what I mean? You're like, you're not doing enough damage. It's like, yeah, but I think that people are worried.
I think they're too worried. Like, you know what I mean? Like, they're like, oh, what about damage meters on all these old raids? Like, no one's probably going to care about the damage meters and half those old raids because the bosses die so quickly. Like, half those old raid bosses in Lost Ark you can kill by yourself. Yeah. So no one's going to care if the guy does no damage. They only care about the stuff when you hit the high end, right?
Well, your top like 5% really wants to see this, right? Like, your top.
The issue will come in. The issue will come in, bro. You're not going to invite none of these casuals to your hard mode, hell mode group or whatever it's called because their damage is not high enough. But that's a whole different issue.
Well, the only time you can tell if somebody's damage isn't high enough is after they've entered the group and they're doing poorly, right? But in no group have I been in has somebody been kicked for low damage initially, because sometimes you make a mistake, sometimes you get knocked down, you know, and then people give you a couple pulls, 5, 6 pulls in, and they're like, okay, is your damage bad? Why is your damage bad? Are you on the floor the whole time? It gives you more of a metric to be like, you know what I mean? Like, it doesn't, even without the damage meter, if I'm doing a hard mode and I see you, we wipe, like, let's say we're on, perfect example, Wolves, Volton. If I see you on the floor 3-4 times, you know, you mess the orbs up, you're like, just wait it. No, you mess the first orbs up because I want to finish the boss quickly. I don't want to sit the elitism, right? I want to finish the boss quickly. So you do orbs first, then you weigh second, and then the boss is dead in like 4 minutes or whatever, right? Maybe 5 instead of waiting like 8 or 9. You know what I mean? Like you can finish the boss quick like that. Like there's a way to cheese it really fast, right? And that's just like just the speed run for hard mode, right? If I see you on the floor, if I see you messing the orbs up, I'm not going to need a damage meter to tell me you're doing bad damage. Like I know you're bad. I'm just going to kick you. But then I can see your damage, and then that person's worried about feeling bad that their damage is bad, even though they're playing bad. So I think that maybe there's an advocation from the people that are sandbagging on their mains and their alts and playing badly to not want to see a damage meter because they're worried about being outed as somebody who's not very good, right? Versus the ability to look at that and be like, okay, maybe instead of sandbagging, maybe I could get better at the game. Maybe this could help me get good. Maybe I could be a better player if I understood my breakdowns, if I understood cooldown windows, if I understood like different breakpoints, right? In a casual way, you can't get that. And there's not a lot of stuff out like that. And I might be one of the only people putting stuff out like that. And I only do it for Berserker. So it leaves a lot of other classes in the dark about like what the absolute, like, okay, like why is this 2-3 second window very important, right? And I see some of it on Invin where like people are like, okay, this is the breakdown, this is the individual thing. But if that person on Invin could do that much research and that much info with a little bit of a meter to help them along the way, their job would be so much easier, and they'd be able to put out like this crazy in-depth like breakdown about like, okay, like this is everything that happened, and it would min-max the characters and make them even better. But and then from a casual POV, you just get better. Like that's it. I think that the only reason to not want damage meters is very simply you're scared to get your feelings hurt that you're not as good as you think you are, or you're afraid that other people are going to find out that you're not very good. And I think that that's a bad way to look at it. You should have to look at it in the sense that that's how you're going to be a better player, and that's how you're going to show people that you're a better player.
Why they're scared of being caught of being really bad at the game?
Why?
Because they can't get in raid groups anymore. They can't get the free carries, right?
Well, yeah, okay, but like,
so like, let's be honest. Like, Lost Ark obviously promotes damage. They want you to have a certain amount of damage because there's a lot of DPS
MVP
checks.
screen. Yep.
And there's DPS checks in these bosses. Like, how much of these bosses have DPS checks where you gotta do a certain amount of damage in this amount of time?
Well, none of, like, okay, all of them, because they're all like 10-minute enrages, right? But the faster and more damage you do, the easier the fight gets, right? So that's why like people were
like a stagger check, right? Where you have to like spam all your stagger. Like they want you to do certain stuff. They want you to perform good and stuff. Like it's the game. They want you to perform. They're pushing everybody towards being high-end raiders.
Like I look at this now, like I go in, I'm like 1490. I'm like, I don't want to do turtle today. I'm just going to go blast a Descaluda. I go finish the boss in like 40 seconds. Right. And then like the people in my party, they probably want to know what kind of damage I just did when they see like 80% MVP pop up on the screen. They're probably like, oh, that's cool. What happened? And then they want to click and they'd be like, oh, he hit his ult for like 200 mil. That's epic. You know what I mean? They think that's cool. Nobody cares. I think that would be fun, right? It's more fun for people, right? Oh, they just got carried, you know? But at the same time, like that, just, I don't know. It just creates more fun. I've never had an issue with damage meters. I've never been kicked out of a group for having bad damage. So
they're here. Like, can't change that.
So I think that it's important to be able to voice your opinion without being angry about it, right? Because there's positives and negatives to everything. You know what I mean? So actually, I would like to hear from like a Korean POV, like what the real reason is that you wouldn't want a damage meter, right? From like their POV, because they have a different POV that like I can't understand because I'm from North America. You know what I mean? So like, how am I going to understand that person's perspective on the game? It's completely different, right? So it'd be good to see like what someone has to say about a damage meter. But
I mean, the main talking point I see a lot is toxicity, but that's already there.
Yeah, the toxicity is already there to like a level where it's like you just can't even get in the group based on gear. I don't think you're ever going to be not invited to a group because of damage. It's literally just gear.
It's more toxic because it's based on how much you can whale or how much free time you have, like, you know?
Well, free time only gets you to a certain point. I genuinely do think like the whole group invite culture that's on Lost Ark right now is purely based around item level, and it's purely based around how much money you spent or how much time you spent. Like that's that.
How rich you are IRL.
How rich are you IRL, bro? How rich are you, bro? You got the money?
Not
get that money
at
up.
all, by the way.
But yeah, Lost Ark had that update about the pets too, that like nobody really thought was good. So
cute pets, a lot.
The Shiba Inu pet's very cute, right? And like just to get away from the toxicity thing, like he's got the little chubby cheeks, extremely adorable, but like the whole pet system, like it's cool. Don't get me wrong, it's cool, right? And adding a level to the pet is cool, right? But NA needed a lot more than like a pet, you know what I mean? Like we need like I remember initially we were supposed to be this fast track region. What happened to the fast track? They're like, we're gonna slow it down now, man. Like it just wasn't working.
It's the escalator.
Bro, we could have had all these events, bro. I'm telling you, they came in, they were like, they gave us this like a Crazium racing event where they're little cute pets. You run around the stadium. That was a cool event. I loved it. The rewards were amazing, right? Why not have 3 of those events running? Overload people's brains. Too much to do in one day. You're like, oh my God, I'm gonna do the event. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do this. You got all this stuff to do. It's fun, you know, but you can cap it out over the week, right? Sure, you stress people out initially with events. It doesn't really matter. Fast tracking us was very simple. It was just overloading events, and we've been shown that they can do 2 events at the same time, 3 events at the same time. They're doing the summer party event and the Guardian raid event right now too, but like the amount of rewards you get from them aren't good enough. Like they suck. Like maybe 1 tap, half of a tap from some of these rewards sometimes, but like 1 tap isn't good enough at the stage of the game we're at. Like they should be like, okay,
tap? What? Just 1 tap?
Just like, dude, you go do the whole event for the week, you get 1 tap, right? And it's like
they're trolling you, man.
That's the thing, is like, what if you had all the ability to put, okay, now it's like, okay, now you get a bunch of taps, you can gear up your main, you can gear up your all. How do casual players catch up and get into the game? They can't. They need, like, there's no battle pass either. Not renewing the battle pass was a huge mistake in my opinion. That was a massive increase in quality of life for the player base, but it injected so many materials that like I feel like they lost money on it and they didn't want to add another one. But there should have been like, okay, the spring's battle pass ends and then the summer one begins immediately. That's what everybody thought. That's what I thought was gonna happen. That's what everybody thought was gonna happen. Why is there no summer battle pass? I need the materials, right? I want to gear up.
Materials.
I actually think that with each raid tier, they should adjust the item level cap to prevent like overpaying to win, right? That sounds ridiculous, but like imagine you got to 15-20 item level, right? And that was the limit. Like you're not allowed to go past 15-20 for Cuckoo. Like that's it. Clown 15-20, boom, cut off. Clown comes out, now it's like 15-60 or whatever, right?
It's less money for them. Why would they allow that?
Well,
come on, man.
Right, but then it's like, okay, I hit the cap, now I can get my alts up, or I can get ready for the next gear push or whatever, right? But for a fast-tracked region that just got, like, we were supposed to be on point with KR, right? And like every person that I've talked to has, from NAEU, you know, they legitimately feel like our region was just like a pump and dump, honestly. They really do. And that sucks to feel like that, but that's how it looks too, because on paper it's like,
I could see it.
Game comes out, craziest hype. It's like, boom, they got like 1 million players off the first like week or something, right? It was crazy. And that was like real players. This was before the like 800,000 bots.
Wave of bots.
But then the Thanos snap happened, Argos, boom, down to like 300K actives, right? Boom, back up to 800K. The game just didn't recover to 800K people. That was 500,000 bots that just zerged the player base. And then like they're saying that they're so happy about it, but then they basically canceled development on NAEU to get rid of the bots.
I remember that.
Come on, man. Like, that's ridiculous.
For a bit. They all came back.
It worked. Now the bots are back. Now the bots are back and you're getting banned for failing a CAPTCHA.
Oops.
Oops. Say, just put a ticket into our non-existent support team. You'll get unbanned the second we get around to you in 2 to 3, 4 weeks. You basically have a longer fake ban because you failed a CAPTCHA than somebody who RMD'd. Because like,
click all the trees with
you just have to wait in support queue. Unbelievable.
CAPTCHA, please. Some of those CAPTCHAs are insane,
bro.
Nowadays,
I can't even. Whenever something tells me to CAPTCHA, I usually like if it's one of those crazy ones, I give up. I can't do some of these crazy CAPTCHAs. They're too much.
Please.
No, I'm not talking about the bicycle ones. You know the ones with the letters and they're like covered, half covered, bro? Oh my God. And the banks are always the one with those. They're like, use the CAPTCHA. And I'm like, I got to call support.
And they're like, oh, you can't read this? Here, we'll say it for you. And it's like mumbles like, blah, 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 blah. What?
Yeah, I think that Lost Ark has a lot of potential still. I think that with the new Clown raid, like honestly, Clown is going to open up a lot of opportunities.
Lost Ark should do something like Fortnite does, but like for the Clown raid, they should just do like a partnership deal with like the It movie people.
The It movie people. That would be cool. I'm down. I'd be down for a cool event like that.
And stuff like that.
Yeah, little clown costumes, little clown car mount that you can jump in, and you're like driving around with a big head sticking out. That'd be cool. That'd be cool. But no, I think that without that normal hard mode, it's going to be a no cope, and not being able to see like certain breakdowns is going to really hurt a lot of people. I really hope we actually get the buff update with that for like Berserker and Destroyer, because I'm like, I re-rolled my build to Berstech. It's insanely strong now, by the way. It was already insanely strong before, but now it's just 20% better, right? Some napkin mathers tried to hit me with some craziness. They were like, it's like an X amount. I was like, no, you're wrong. I'm right. I like not having normal mode and hard mode, one difficulty bosses. I think that that's actually cool, because it removes that level of like, okay, I can't do, I hate this attitude so much. When other people look at everybody else and they're like, these kids are so bad, I'm not going to do hard mode with them. Actually, it's a waste of my time to go do hard mode. I'm going to go do normal mode, gate 1 and gate 2. I hate that, man. I hate that people cope out about other people sucking so bad that they can't go do normal gate 1 and gate 2 on Vicus, and then they're just like, yeah, I'm just gonna go do gate 3 on hard mode. Oh, it rubs me the wrong way, because it's like, you're part of the problem where you're probably not good enough to do gate 1 and gate 2, and you've made enough mistakes, but it's much easier to just blame everybody else that they're bad, and then not accept your own faults. But you're not going to be able to do that on the clown. You're going to have to go in there and you're going to be like, there's 4 people in here. You're one of the problems. The people that are coping out, not able to do normal, they can't do hard mode Vicus, so they go do normal mode gate 1 and gate 2 because they think it's a waste of their time, when every time I've made a pub group for hard mode Vicus, I literally walk through all 3 gates just because I'm stingy with who I invite. I'm like, okay, item level capped here, 1505. If you're above that, not coming. Are you 4x3 by toxic? Exactly. But it is what it is. Are you 4x3 by 2? Are you full relic accessories? Because people don't realize how much actual damage is on each accessory, right? And how much health you get. God. It is what it is, right? So are you full relic accessories 4? But I don't even care about the gems. Like if you're level 5 to 7 gems
in the game.
Yeah, there isn't, right? But yeah, but like I look at it, it's like, so I have all these stipulations, but when I go into the raid, I beat it no problem. And like the easiest way to check if somebody's done the raid is I go look, and I'm like, what titles do you have on? Are you Vicus's Succubus? If you have Vicus's Succubus on, like, it's pretty easy to tell if you can beat the raid. The Demon's Roar title from Hell Mode, that's easy to tell. Like, that person's good at the game, usually, right? So it's like, it's really easy to see like which players are actually good and which players are actually bad.
With it's kind of funny with Clown's small raid size. It's going to open up the toxicity meter for,
I think so too,
raiding even more so than a DPS meter would, because like you said, it's like 4 people.
It's really obvious who makes the mistake on Clown. And when you go play Super Mario, you know what I'm saying? I really, really think that like it's going to make a lot of the highest item level players leave the game more than the lower item level players. I think that they're going to struggle quite a bit. Okay. I don't mean to say it like that. I want to say it in the sense that if you're a high item level player and you're still struggling with Vicus, like let's say you're like 1500 plus and you're still struggling with hard mode Vicus yourself, not your party, yourself, like you're still struggling with some of her mechanics and you're 1500 plus, you're going to have such a negative, terrible time on Clown that you're going to quit the game. Almost guaranteed. And if you had the tools to be able to understand how you could be better and how you could do better, that might not be the case.
I think this raid's going to filter out all the sandbags, because all the good players are going to get together and filter out all the sandbag players, and these sandbag players won't be able to find a group for anything.
One thing I really dislike, right, is bus culture, like carry culture. Like now, this is very hypocritical and extremely ironic from somebody who used to just sell WoW gold and WoW raid carries. Like I literally sold enough WoW gold that it paid for my college. Like, I'm not even joking. Like, I was literally a gold farmer. Like, I farmed gold and played WoW all day, full degen. I was a degen. That's what I did, right? But it was way more money than going to work anywhere. Like, way more. Like, an insane amount more. Selling raids back then was crazy money. Like, people don't realize. When I look at the carry culture of that, though, back then, people were paying that. They were like, I accept that I don't have enough time to be able to progress this massive raid. Like Wrath of the Lich King, right? On hard mode, only like 1% of the, not even 1% of the player base even got to fight him, let alone beat him, right? Now, this is going to bring me into Lost Ark in a second. But the start of that raid was accessible on hard mode by pretty much everybody going into it. Like it was pretty easy. They catch you up. You can get into the raid, and you do the first like 5 bosses, you get the gear. You do the second 5 bosses, you get the gear. Right? Like it's pretty linear. It helps you progress. It's pretty simple to get into. When I look at the new raids item level for Lost Ark, it's like the whole point is to push your item level so that you have an easier time doing the boss, or just to be able to go do the boss, right? But I like when so many more people have access to the boss that it opens your player pool up so that you have more people to pull from and you can have more fun with more people, right? Because it just opens so many opportunities up for more people to have fun.
Everybody gets bussed to the end game or to the thing, and they don't actually want to do it themselves. They don't want to do the thing you're supposed to be playing the game for. They just want to be bussed through it.
Well, that's the thing. New players come in, it's like, I'm going to get carried through the whole thing. The thing that was created on Lost Ark is a new player comes in, they pay for a carry, they get a free ride, they get the gear, they don't learn the fight, and then they learn the fight after they get the gear. And it's like a 5-step process that has existed for a long time, right?
And they have the gear and they show up in your group for a DPS spot, and they're like, can you teach me?
Yeah, and it's crazy. And you look at it, you're like, why do I have to teach you? You have full relic gear and you have the titles and everything. And they bought 5-6 carries, and they're like, well, I never learned to fight. And like, I don't mind teaching them, right? But like in a teaching group, right? I don't want to teach you in my main group where I'm like, okay, I'm recruiting people.
Isn't that guy toxic to show up like that though?
He is, and I think that the carry culture in Lost Ark is really toxic, and I feel like it should be.
Other games they get carried, they don't go. Like you get carried, you get the gear, you don't just join like a top end guild.
Well, right, because like then they ask to see your logs, right?
Yeah, or you join a pug. You might join a bug for a boss or two, but like you're supposed to have all this high end gear and you do really bad deeps. They're like, this is kind of sussy.
Well, I think the main thing is having the carry culture the way it is in Lost Ark, where you just get buffed and you just get carried through everything until you have all that gear. You don't learn how to play your character at all. You don't learn how to play your character on the boss. You don't learn how to do good.
DPS meter, so you can point those people up and be like, hey, I can help you, or you gotta step aside for someone who knows what to do.
Well, it creates a bad dynamic for new people coming into the game because they don't get to learn correctly, and it creates a bad dynamic for people's alts because they don't learn how to get better. We talked about this in the last podcast, but like I genuinely think people should be focused on getting better at the game as in its entirety and becoming a better player, and that should be the goal of the game, is to become this extremely good player, even if you're a casual, right? Not just to become good enough where like you feel happy that you're good, and then like you don't have to go buy a carry. You know, you can go join the group and like enjoy yourself and have fun, and doing good should be a reward, right? And the better you do in the raid, the more of a reward you should get at the end of it. I still think that. I think that when it comes down to it, it's like those top 4 guys, they actually put in a lot of work, you know, and they tried their hardest. And I think that those top 4 people, not just like #1 MVP, those top 4 people that showed up, they probably should get a little bit of a bonus reward. Maybe not anything insanely crazy, but like, you know, maybe like a 20-25% markup on whatever they were doing, right?
Yeah, why not? Yeah.
And I think that would pressure more people to get good, but it might actually just make the carrying situation worse, where people only want to sell carries, or they'll only, but then it's the same thing. It's like, now you're only going to invite people who are like lower item level than you, but then it helps more casuals get into the raid. There's no negatives.
Carrying's not bad. It's just an issue if like half of your rating, like let's say like 60% of your rating player base in any of your game is all carries, right?
Yeah.
And then everybody else are the raiders, right? Like I think that's like the normal skew. Like, you know what I mean? Like 60% of casuals get carried by the 20% of like the 30% of like the hardcore, 40% hardcore raiders. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They do all the stuff. But then like Lost Ark, it seems like 10% of the player base does this hardcore rating stuff, and they carry the rest of the player base to that point. And they like let them free. Like, okay, here you guys can compete. You guys are here now. Figure it out. Then everybody else then the rest of 10% dudes are left like trying to find the good one.
And like usually the carry costs less than the raid itself, right? So like you'll get more gold in the raid than you will have to pay the guy who's carrying you. So that's why a lot of people are, oh, I'll just get my alts carried, I'll just get my main carried, whatever. Like they don't carry, you know what I mean? Oh, they're new to the game, they have like 5,000 gold. They're like, okay, I'm gonna go get carried through Vaulton for like 1,500 gold, whatever. I'm gonna get carried through Vicus for whatever amount of gold. And then they get all their relic gear. And like not being able to get into a group because you don't have full relic gear sucks, but like that's just where the game's at, you know? And like I think that really brings me back to the, if I could inspect you, right, and no damage meter, and let's just say damage meter never comes into the game, if that MVP system that I talked about, right, I know they want to change the MVP screen or whatever so that you can like see something about it, but if I could inspect you and see how many MVPs you've gotten, if I could inspect you and see how well you've done in the past in Lost Ark, I can see your MVP screens. I can see all this stuff. They want to do this MVP rework. I want to be able to see what you've done in the past myself when I inspect you. That way I don't have to look at your gear. I don't have to look at your accessories. I don't have to look at your stats. It just shows, are you a good player?
What you did.
Or no? How good have you done in your last X amount of runs? How many MVPs do you farm? Are you an MVP farmer? Oh, I'm not a class that gets MVPs. I think that that's the biggest cope I've ever seen. There isn't a single class in the game that isn't good enough if you are a good enough player to not get MVP. People told me Deadeye was bad. I've seen Deadeye's play, or shark, what are they? Handgun build? People are like, oh, it's terrible. That's what I hear people say. I've seen people MVP with that thing, no problem, right? Like they carry the hell out of a group, no questions asked, but you have to be an insanely good player to do it. And you have to really understand your character. And I think that the current carry culture on Lost Ark prevents people from actually getting better at the game, and it just helps them coast and stay mediocre. And I don't think that's healthy for the game at all.
Coasting with gear.
Coasting with gear, yep.
Instead of just popping off with your own skills. What's wrong with that?
Well, I love going into like a pug group and like slamming, you know what I mean? And you see your name pop up MVP, you know, you did like 40% of the damage and like a Vicus, and you're like, oh, I do that on my destroyer all the time. I pop in and I'm like, you're just bonking, you know, bonking away. Just
feels great.
You're feeling amazing, bro.
Yeah.
And that's good. You know, you get to flex on other people. And like if you're raiding at a high end, which is like supposedly the entire game where you're just raiding, like that's really good for the game. I think it is good to be able to go flex on people. I would love to see Lost Ark do this in the sense where I can see how good somebody is without having to be like so anal about their overall gear. Like if someone doesn't have full relic gear, like, okay, they haven't killed Vicus very much, right? But I can go to their MVP screen and see the last time they did Vicus, they're like 1460. They popped off. They actually did well. They didn't die at all. They did all the mechs right. That'd be great. I wish you could see into people's past like that. You know what I mean? But it's difficult. I think that in itself is impossible for their current MVP system. But it would be cool to see if somebody did MVP. Yeah.
I think the real issue is like people expect, like they get carried and they expect access to all the best groups with all the best people who worked really hard to get there or create those groups to get there, you know? Like they get bought, they buy all the best gear, they get the best carries, but they expect like they feel entitled to join your group of grinders who want to pop off and got there and try really hard, and you know what I mean?
Yeah, like sometimes you want to just speed run hard mode. Like I don't want to sit there for an hour and a half, 2 hours doing hard mode. Like
why, if I bought my account, like bought my carries and stuff, why am I entitled to join your group?
Well, right, and I have no way to tell if you just bought your, like there is technical ways to see, right? Like there's so many ways, right?
DPS meter, easy one.
DPS meter is an easy one, right? If I look at your roster level, I can see how much you play. I can look at so many metrics on your character to see like if you're a good fit for the group. And the worst part is you can bypass all those metrics, get into the group and sandbag. And I have no idea to tell if you're the one sandbagging or if somebody else is sandbagging. And I think that's terrible. I think that's bad for the game. And I think that that's actually created more negative situations than it's created positive ones.
There's a lot of freeloaders out there. And I think that's a big issue out there too. A lot of people.
That's a fact. There's too many freeloaders on Lost Ark.
And AFKing out and just watching you do stuff.
I know a lot of people play without player effects on too, but I go out of my way to play with player effects on sometimes when I don't have a headache, because it is a headache sometimes, right? And when I see, if you turn player effects on and you legitimately learn the animations of if you PvP'd a lot, like I used to PvP a lot, people who used to watch my stream know that I PvP'd literally 6 to 8 hours a day. You learn all the animations, you learn all the abilities of all the other characters in the game, but then you get into the raid and you see somebody like auto attacking, right? If you don't have animations on, you can't tell that they're just trolling. You know what I mean? And there's a lot of people that are just trolling. And it's like I want to remove an element of me having to play with player effects on to see like, is this guy a meme lord or not? Honestly, at the end of the day,
You
that's
tell
what
they
I want.
alt tab for like a minute.
Oh, let's not talk about the alt tab stuff, man. Oh my god. Like people just they're like, I'm doing this on my phone while I'm playing this game's not hard enough or something. And I'm like, bro, like
the stop and go and they're running.
And they're clearly just like the worst player in the group. They're bottom damage and like, oh, they're just so coped out and they just think Lost Ark's easy. But like they're the ones that the problem. When you look at somebody who's a problem and they're just coped out, you need a way to show them like, yo, like you need to be better. You need to do better, right? Because like it's not okay to disrespect other people's time like that, because that's what I think is the underlying issue, is that Lost Ark is the most disrespectful game to any individual's time out of any game that I've ever played, including Black Desert Online.
It is. I think the main issue is like a lot right now in Lost Ark. There's an issue of people disrespecting people's time, which is supremely toxic. And then people are looking for ways to combat this toxicity. One of those ways is a DPS meter, because it's a really simple measure of like, are you doing something?
That's are you doing something? Are you doing the like? If your damage is high, you're doing the mechanics correctly, and you're doing the boss correctly. You're doing things correctly if your damage is high.
You're alive. You're living. You're doing stuff. So like they grab people gravitating towards that because it's simple. Bro, that's why I think the DPS issue in Lost Ark's unique compared to other games, because people pulled it up and started doing it because they want to combat the negative, like the toxicity of people just, like you said, sandbagging groups, destroying groups, groups falling apart because one person's sandbagging. They can't figure out what's going on. Why can't we kill this guy ever? What's going on? Everybody's trying really hard. Yeah, everybody's trying really hard. And I'm sitting here playing Total War while you guys are fucking all tabbing every 2 minutes, like, you know.
Yeah, I'm getting heated up because like, man, when I think about it, bro, I'm just heated. I'm like, my brain just like, woo, my brain turned into a liquid. That's how hot my head got, bro. I don't know. It just really sucks to be discredited based on, oh, you don't play on KR anymore. You know what I mean? And that's something that happened to me early on that's not happening to me anymore, because people are like, okay, you actually give good advice. Genuinely high, good feedback from lots of people that are like, okay, now that you've explained everything extremely in depth, this is how you can aspire to be better at the game, right? Because that's all I'm preaching is be a better player, how to get better, how to do more damage, how to have a better damage rotation, how to compensate when things go wrong. Like I'm trying to get people in the mindset to succeed rather than just be like, well, it is what it is. How do we go past it is what it is? How do we make things better? Because I'm so tired of hearing it is what it is. And I'm not about that anymore. I'm about going above and beyond, bro.
Yeah, because Koreans were first doing it and we're doing it the longest doesn't mean your info's any less thing. Like, because you're playing NA now, like,
because I don't want to play on 300 ping. It's like, you're wrong. It's like, I don't want to play on 300 ping. Nobody does. That sucks.
It's a different region. It's a different game at that point.
There will be very few people, if they still play the game at all, because the old systems in the game were terrible, right? Like, they weren't fun. The game wasn't very good. Like, endgame was Guardian raids. The game was not good. Let's not get it coped out. Like, PvP was the only thing to do, and PvP wasn't balanced. It wasn't that good either.
Back then.
Yeah, I was
gonna say it.
Yeah, Acrasium was the greatest thing ever. You heard it here first. But no, like, and you make those guides, and like, it was fun to do that, right? And then like, I played on and off throughout the years, so like, I would love to be able to go sit down with somebody and have them not like negatively attack me because my ideas are a little different, or like I do things a different way. I think that like it should be like, same thing when I look at other people, I'm like, okay, and I go try it. I'm like, what are the negatives? What are the positives about what this guy is saying? And I see the negatives very quickly, like almost immediately with everything everybody else says, right? And then like I have forced myself to be like, what are the good takeaways from what he's doing? What are things that I can add to my thing that I'm doing? And if it's literally nothing, then like, okay, then it's bad advice, right? But if there's something good about it, then I can be okay. I don't really reference I don't really watch a lot of other like people on Lost Ark anymore, because like there's just a lot of negativity, and I don't really vibe with that. Like every time I open a stream, it's somebody talking about like how entitled the NAEU player base is and the SA player base, and I'm just like, I don't want to hear that, man. I don't want to hear that. We talked about in the last video. It's like, yeah, you have the better region of the better, you have the best version of the game, and ours sucks. Of course we're mad, and everybody's quitting, and our game's dying, and we're sitting here upset about it because we love playing the game. We love playing the same game you like playing, right? And I wish people could.
Dying.
I really wish people could see that in a different light. I really do. You know.
Yeah.
Oh well, it doesn't really matter. And then I think that one thing too that a lot of people forget about, and a lot of people have been since we posted the last thing, a lot of people have been actually, what was it, 2 videos, some amount of videos ago, I compared Lost Ark to Black Desert Online, where the Black Desert Online NAEU SA player base is like much further ahead in everything than the KR player base, right? In that game specifically. And I play BDO still. I still min-max that game like pretty hard, but it's always been my alt game. It's always been my off game. And I don't think that should discredit any individual Korean player, right? Like, I think that it should just be accepted that other regions can be better. Like, if you take the game more seriously, people are going to get better at it, right? Like, and that's not to say that people didn't take it serious in the East, but like in the West, people have literally min-max the characters, the combos, the everything. Like, BDO in the West is at a completely different level than it is in the East, because like I remember specifically a character called a Mystic came out, and the Korean player base said the Mystic is terrible. They are saying it's terrible. And this character came out and it was unbelievably strong and broken, like to the point like it wasn't even fair for anybody else to play against it. It was at the point where tagging didn't exist either. So the game was just pay to win. Like, you would just pay to win, roll your weapons over the new character every time it came out, because it was just too good. And this character was so broken that like nothing could kill it. It was just, its innate stats were too high. Its damage was too, everything about the character was completely broken. And it remained one of the best grinders in the game up until about a year ago. I think when Guardian came out was about the time they started really gutting Mystic down. Dude, maybe that was 2 years ago. Guardian came out a while ago. But like, it was a while ago. Yeah, never mind. It was a while ago that they gutted it. But like, people over here really cared about BDO. Like, there was really passionate players that min-maxed the game to the point where like it wasn't being min-maxed in any of the other regions at all, right? Like, none of the other regions did what NAEU did to BDO, and it created a new dynamic where like Pearl Abyss started balancing and nerfing things based on like us rather than them.
It's okay. It's okay for
and that's fine.
Region to be better at a game than another region. Like, didn't NA make StarCraft and then Koreans just took the game away from us, became the best at it?
Exactly. That's a good point. It's like, I played ESL Toronto, oh my god, 15 years ago, right? I was like 15, 16, right? I played in a StarCraft. The first time I played against a Korean player, I was so discouraged. They were so much better than me at StarCraft. It was unbelievable. I got swept, bro. 3-0. Absolutely destroyed. And I think that just because one region's better at a game than another doesn't mean that that's a bad region, right? But I think that there's opportunities for everybody, right? And KR's the best at StarCraft. They're the best at, well, they used to be the best. I don't know anymore if they're still the best at StarCraft. I don't even know. Is StarCraft 2 still a thing?
I don't know.
I don't know. I don't even know if it's a thing anymore. It might be a thing still. I'm not sure if StarCraft 2 still even has a pro scene.
Still exists.
It still exists for sure.
The game for sure.
Same thing like League of Legends. Like League of Legends, like what is it? KR, China again, insanely good players. Like, I remember watching some Chinese player named, I think his name was Dopa the first time. He was insane. Absolute monster, right? Like,
again, they also have different metas too.
Different, yeah, completely different meta.
Why can't NA Lost Ark have a different meta where we just
have damage meters, you know? Yeah.
Some statistics, you know?
Right. And I think it's good that different regions have different metas, and like things can be changed in different regions. And I think that Lost Ark has a lot of opportunity, right, to say the least still. I think that with a bunch of good updates, a lot of people would return to Lost Ark, but I genuinely think they need to cut like this ridiculous cash grab pay to win stuff out of NAEU, because everybody hates it. When I posted that like BDO comparison or whatever, like a lot of people started talking about like this whole thing about like East versus West and like all this crazy stuff. And it's like, it's really not that crazy. You know, I think people just want to play what they want to play and have fun. And I think that there should be metrics. And the metrics, when you look at BDO now, are like, are you high rated in Arena of Solaire? No. Most people will be like, whatever. Are you a casual? Do you even like arena? No. Okay, you don't do the arena. Do you go to Siege, and do you do well at Siege? It's like, yeah, I'm a top fragger, right? And then you look at it, you're like, okay, that guy owns, you know what I mean? And then like, if you can do that against some of the best competitive players, then you're very clearly a really good player. But there's a scoreboard for a reason, right? Before there was no other scoreboards in the game other than Node Wars and Siege. So how did you become the best player? How did you show how good you were? Node Wars and Siege. How well did you do? Well, I did this good. Are you on the, well, like I got X amount of kills, X amount of deaths. But then you look at there's a character called Shy that's just a pure support class, and like that character's only going to die, and you can't really gauge how good it does. But then like every single Shy is like, I bubbled 100 people, and they post a clip of it, and you're like, that was sick, right? So
well, it just gives you a metric to like strive for. It's like, I want to get my KD up, I want to get more kills, I want to get something for your personal goals, like, you know, it's always about other people too.
And a lot of people are going to come in and be like, yo, but it's so pay to win. Dude, there's like a gear cap now. Like, yeah, sure, HP matters, but like, that's the only thing that really matters is like you hit the gear score and then you get HP. Like, that's it. And then like, that's gear cap Siege. And like, that's gear cap T1 Wars, right? Like, you can really see in those gear cap situations, like, oh, are these people actually good or bad? Now, some characters aren't very good in the gear cap because their template's bad, but like, whatever, right? You go into the uncapped and you see some crazy things, and the same people that do good in the capped sieges on BDO do just as good in the uncapped sieges, if not better, because their character is better in the uncapped siege, right? So like the same people are doing the same things, and it just becomes like, how good are you at the game? It's not really a gear thing most of the time, at least.
Let's be honest, a lot of people aren't playing BDO to like PvP. They're just playing BDO to like grind
and have fun PvEing. Like that's like Lost Ark. Like, how many people are playing Lost Ark to PvP? Nobody. How many people are playing BDO to PvP? Nobody, right? You look at like 20,000 active players on like Steam charts or whatever. I think that's what I last checked like a week ago, right? And you think that there is less than 1,000 people that even show up to Siege every week?
What is the other 19,000 doing? They're doing something.
PvEing, having fun, playing the game. Dude, even the company knows, like, they're promoting random events and streams. Siege is happening, and they're like, go watch this guy's stream. Siege is the last thing on their mind. They don't care at all.
Yeah, like, you don't notice, like, it's, like, you don't notice the pay to win, because, like, most of the time you're just doing stuff everybody else is doing.
Right, and then when it comes into Lost Ark, you notice the pay to win immediately, because you can't even see other people's gear on BDO. And, like, the only time you really feel is, like, you're grinding a spot, some dude comes in and boom, you're dead. One shot, and you're like, I guess I'll just change channels because I just got one-shotted.
I'll change channels, I'll avoid that guy.
Nobody cares. It's not a big deal. Unless you care about dying in a game, then, like, I guess that sucks, but, like, it's a video game. Like, get over it, right? Yeah. You make mistakes, and it's important that you learn from your mistakes, but if somebody gear checks you, like, that's how it goes. And that's why I think all PvP should technically be, like, gear capped. And I think BDO is probably the only exception where it's like, if you're grinding at a spot you shouldn't be and somebody gear checks you, it is what it is. And if that person's
open world shouldn't be.
Yeah, I think open world's fine to not be gear capped. Honestly, yeah. Like open world PvP is
unfair.
Yeah.
Open world just essential. Open world in nature is unfair. Like, you can't make that fair.
That's true.
Like, no one wants a fair open world game.
No.
Amazon tried to do that.
Yeah, fair open world, new world. How did that go? Terribly. The game sucked. What was fair? Use this weapon or you're not allowed to PvP. It's like, oh yeah, Void Gauntlet, Great Axe, or Void Gauntlet, Ice Gauntlet, Void Gauntlet, Ice Gauntlet. And it was just like, oh, these two, and they were broken for months. And like, you see it on the streams, you see it on the YouTubes, you see it everywhere, and then they just ignored it. They're like, they put the blinders on and they're like, that's all you heard from it. I don't see any problems. I can't even see. Yeah, that was brutal, man. Yeah, New World was an experience that was like, of MMOs, New World was the best experience I've had playing a game in, oh my God, in years, bro. Like, probably as good as BDO when it first came out. Nobody knew anything about the game. It was brand new. Like, sure, there was some people that knew like some things, but they didn't know the extent, the level that you could get to. Nobody knew anything. And it was like, they said it was a true adventure and it was fun. And if it wasn't so mismanaged, it would be one of the best games in the world, right?
Adventure wasn't an adventure real quick because of Amazon.
Yeah, it was ended pretty quick. It was like, here's a 2,000 server player cap and we're blowing your graphics cards up. Enjoy. It's like, okay, guys, come on. And a lot of people that praise the AGS servers, like Lost Ark's lagging like crazy on NAE. Like every reset week is just brutal, bro.
I don't think Amazon's gonna ever be known for their servers.
Not for gaming. For web services, yes, of course. But like for gaming, they have to do an overhaul. They have to, and I think the main issue would be server location. Very simply, like when you look at NA, there's only one place for a server, and that's central, right? East gets 50 to 80 ping. West gets 50 to 80 ping. And then like as you get towards the center, it's like it gets lower and lower and lower, right? But if everybody's about the same, then it's fine. But if everybody's different, like, you know, it's like, so this guy has 10 ping and this guy has 150, which is basically like me playing east to west. Like BDO is a perfect example. If I don't use exit lag, I can't play BDO like at all. Like I just lag to death, right? So it's like 10 ping versus 100 ping, night and day difference. 10 ping versus 50 ping, still playable, actually. Playable. It's shooting games too. 10 versus 50, noticeable. You'll notice it, but not as much, right? But 10 versus 100, you're just gone. Like
anything over 100.
Anything over 100 is just unplayable.
I can't function, man. I can't function.
I know a lot of people are going to cap me and be like, you played like Lost Ark on 300 ping. Lost Ark was unplayable on 300 ping. I made it work, but like mentally, I was stressed out. Just like, okay, well, in a second and a half, I'm going to do this. It's like, I don't want to.
Personal at that point. Like, I personally can't handle over 100 ping in any game.
Yeah, I can't either. I don't think it's
especially in MMOs and FPSs.
MMOs and FPSs probably the worst. I think that MMO raid mechanics, especially on Lost Ark, are very like forgiving in the sense of ping, right? And I think that the Korean server for Lost Ark is so good, right? That playing on from East Coast on high ping, I didn't have as many issues because when I went and did the same thing on RU, it was unplayable. Like the game was actually unplayable on RU.
My issue with MMOs is like I can really notice input lag.
Me too. Like, and I think the only game that handles input lag well, or not anymore, but it used to handle input lag well, was World of Warcraft. I think World of Warcraft handled input lag extremely well. And I think that I hope they bring that back with Dragonflight, right? Because like spell batching or whatever it was, like if I push a button, it would like line for people who don't play WoW, it would like line your next cast up. So like I could be lagging and mashing my button to the point where like the next skill would just go off. And sure, sometimes you'd cast the same skill 3 times in a row by accident if you were lagging, but like it was still better than not doing anything at all, which I kind of felt was kind of valuable, right? And that was nice. But I don't think a lot of other games could do that because WoW is so simple at its core, but like they tried to overcomplicate it too much, and I think that also created issues.
Overcomplicate anything could be bad.
When I was playing Immortal Empires, like Total War pretty much made a massive comeback, which is like kind of what I want to say about like Lost Ark's not done, right? And I don't think BDO's done either. I think we're going to see both of these games make a resurgence if these companies like start taking the advice of their player base. Like these game devs have been sandbagging us for ages, dude. And if they put in the work and they listen to the player base and they do the right things, they can revitalize a game like Creative Assembly revitalized Total War, Warhammer 3, Immortal Empires.
Yeah.
The player base went from like 2 to 5K people a day to 100,000 with this update. And you look at the Reddit, and most people are like, the Reddit's toxic. Everybody's like, game's good, love it, sick, amazing, amazing.
They went from mixed to positive. It was at negative at one point. It was like one of the most negative reviewed games.
It was in, what was it?
Battlefield.
It was in the top 25, or no, what was it? It was just above It was below or above Battlefield. Mostly negative reviews. Switched to positive. And I'm assuming it's going to go to mostly positive, right? Because it's so well done. And yeah, sure, there's problems and sure there's bugs, but there's like, go ahead.
Here, listen. Okay. The 23rd of August, right? Before Warhammer Mortal Empires launched. 9,000 people.
Yeah.
Launched, went to 119,000 people, right?
That's all.
Right now,
10x.
Right?
Yeah.
61,000 people with a 95-hour, 24-hour peak. With 95,000 people, 24-hour peak.
Okay.
Like,
and we're at like 3 a.m.
Right now. Yeah, it's 3 a.m. right now.
Completely revive the game. I think that if game devs listen to their player base, they take the advice and they stop listening to that like the negative toxic people that are only preaching the toxicity, they can really you can revitalize a game. You can make it good again with a good update with a lot of hype. They hyped the game with trailers. They made everything sick. Like, dude, the trailers were cool, right? And they hyped their trailers are good. Creative Assembly makes good trailers, right?
Yeah.
And there's 280 factions in Immortal. You load in, you press end term, like my computer stacked up, right? This thing's a beast. It takes me like 30 seconds to a minute to pass a turn in that game.
Yeah.
And it's like there's so many factions, there's so many people, there's so many things happening, there's so much going on, and like and it's functioning, and it's a massive, and it's so cool. And I know so many people love Total War.
I thought there'd be more bugs.
I did too. The amount of bugs, like, okay, like you duplicating Sisters of Twilight, like that's funny, and it'll get removed. And like there's a couple of bugs that like made it through that, like you're like, okay.
Some of the core issues are still there, which they need to fix, and they're talking about fixing them, like this minor sentiment issues.
Yeah, they're like Dev Diary did speak about like fixing them.
The minor settlements are cool. Like a lot of the new minor settlements look cool, but the issue is the pathing is really terrible because all the paths are really small.
Yeah.
Everything's a choke point. Now you look at their Three Kingdoms castles, you look at Rome 2, like the castles were huge. They had roadways, they had proper architecture where it's like, oh, this door opens up to a little area where you can stage your units, and this area leads up to like a little pathway that you can do a choke point that leads into another open area. Like you want to be able to maneuver your units, so you have these units. That's why people like open land battles.
Yeah, and I think that was the main draw of Total War, was like you have these open land battles and you have these sieges, right? And people were always like, oh, I hate having a siege every single time, right?
You can't do nothing. Like the sieges you're running on these roads are like that.
Well, yeah, but like the sieges in Warhammer 2, right? We'll go with Warhammer 2. After a certain stage of the game, like every place had walls and you're forced into the fight anyways, right? And I think that they should take the same approach with the settlement battles. I think that the settlements should only be settlements once they have the garrison built. Like a settlement should not be a settlement without the garrison built to defend it, right? It should just be an open field battle. I think that'd be fair, because in Three Kingdoms, they were so well done. They were clean, like you said, they were smooth, they felt good to play on. And then you run into them in Warhammer 3, your units are getting stuck on every little corner. They're not some of them are very well made, right? Which you can tell because the units moved so smoothly through it. But then when we look at, because there's so many, right? Like there's so many maps.
The major settlements are really good.
Major settlements are all really good. But all the minor ones
just don't have, they need foot traffic. You need foot traffic. You're playing on ultra unit scale, and you have all these blobs of units, and everybody gets stuck. And the units don't respond well for some reason when they get stuck. They all start pausing and breaking. I don't know if you noticed that.
I did notice that. Yeah, I did notice that. Only in the settlement battles specifically do the units still stop their charges too. Like, you know, what this was an issue before. Unit runs, stops its charge, can't continue, and that only happens in settlement battles, and happen in normal land battles, right? And I think the land battles were something in Total War that like I've been getting a lot of ever since like my campaign is out of control, right? Like I'm going to be posting a video about it soon, and it's like I set the super end game scenario, which is super cool, by the way, that like you have this whole thing come in and it's like, boom, now your campaign's on Giga Hard. You're already playing on the hardest difficulty. Now it's on Giga Hard mode, right?
Yeah.
And these dwarves spawned in mass. It's called the Grudge Tide. All these little men are running at me. Just crazy nonsense, dude. Other factions are declaring war on me. They're trying to get the
Tide's horrific. I'll be honest. The Wood Elf Tide. Oh my god.
So I've experienced both now, and I would say that it's Wood Elves are
their armies are ridiculous.
Equal to the dwarves in difficulty, right? I know dwarves are easier to deal with.
They have the range of movement. You can kind of like they siege up, the dwarves siege up. You can kind of play around with that, but the Wood Elves just W key at you.
That's true. And the Wood Elves have a lot. The tree men are crazy strong too. Okay, you're right. Okay, so in difficulty level, I would say that like the Wood Elves one, I would disable because in my opinion, it's too difficult for early stages of the game, but it'd be really fun at later stages of the game, right? So like my dwarf one, I was like, I'm gonna just set it to turn like 60. Let's see what happens. My campaign, I've never lost a Total War campaign, right? Like on Warhammer, I lost them in like Rome and like Shogun because I was new at that stage. But like now that I've played for so many years, like this was the closest I ever came. I was like, dude, you hear me panicking all the time. I'm like, I'm gonna lose. Like I can't, So then I'm fighting these crazy battles with like an army that like shouldn't exist at that stage of the game, and there's 4 stacks of it fighting my like crap stack, and then like you win and it's like this epic, you feel good, and like it's the best update I've played on any game ever. It's so good.
You can put these scenarios on like turn 25 when you have like a level 5 hero, like level 10, 20, like 10 hero.
Yeah.
These guys come out with like level 200 armies. It's like level 50 heroes. Like, God damn, son. And they'll come running at you because they hate you because you're a player.
Well, it's fun. It adds like this level of like gameplay that like I didn't think that the game could be like that much more fun, but adding that level of difficulty made the game just like insanely fun for me. I really enjoyed it.
The real issue, and the only issue I had with this whole Immortal Empire beta and all the people trying it out, is that no one tried out multiplayer.
Oh, right. Yeah. So like, dude, me and Eternal play multiplayer Total War all the time. We sit there, we play multiplayer Total War all the time. We play full battles, no auto resolve, right? We, big PP. The problem,
player base does, bro. 61,000 people are playing the game right now. I'd say 40,000 people are playing multiplayer campaign with their friends. 100%.
The problem is it desyncs so much, and like there's an attempted resync thing that you have to resync, and none of the real content creators like for Total War. Maybe I'll be the difference. We'll be the change. We'll play Total War Duo and show how desyncy it is, but you have to resync a lot, and it really slows the game down. Not exactly the best.
Yo, no one does multiplayer campaign so much so that like no one found out about you can't turn on the invasion stuff on multiplayer until the game came out.
Yeah, that's insane to me that like the content creators are so disconnected from each other and not networked that like they don't play with each other on the campaigns because they just want to PvP, and that's fine if you just want to PvP. But like campaign duo is really fun. So not being able to turn on an endgame invasion, which is like their new big thing, kind of sucks. So I wish that would have been. But it is what the game's massive.
Well, everybody's seen that. Everybody's seen that, and they're like, "Oh, I can't wait to try that on multiplayer." People were saying that for weeks.
Yep.
But then all these content creators had a chance to try it out, but they couldn't just try it out for 5 minutes and say, "Hey, this is what you can do. This is what you can't do." Like I just found that weird.
Like, I found it weird too.
Just like a 5-minute video. Hey, this is what multiplayer campaign is going to look like. I know you guys do this. I don't do this.
But yeah,
you can't turn this on. You can't do this.
And you have to think, right? This never would have been possible if they didn't hype the game up and they didn't do this massive update. Adding that level of like hype, they're like trailer, do these new factions, trailer, new hype. They did it perfect, right? There's a template to follow. You can follow the Total War template, right? And be like, okay, now I understand that we can do this too. So Lost Ark can do it. Any game can do what Total War did. They can revitalize their game completely, bring all their players back, but you have to start respecting your players. You have to respect our time, because if you don't, we're not going to respect you or your game, right? Yeah. So get the hype going, get us live, get everybody back into Lost Ark. It's easy to do, and you can get people back into it, but you have to remove the toxic monetization. You can fix the game. You're just choosing not to, and that's why we're so mad about it.
You're so mad.
I'm mad. But like game trailers are what really makes games hype. And like when I go look at the Gamescom trailers, they really took it to the next level. The only thing
I wasn't hype. I thought there would be more games. A lot of Gamescom games from last year that was hype for it to even show up this year.
Well, why would they show up twice? That's my biggest problem with Gamescom, right? When we look at all these new games trailers from Gamescom, the biggest problem that I have every single time is these companies invest so much talent, so much time, and so much energy into these crazy game trailers. And then you go look at the actual game and you're like, well, this game sucks. It looks like trash. The game looks, and I'm not saying like graphically, I'm saying like you literally see the characters move in game and it looks like clunky and blocky. They're getting stuck and you're like, this game actually sucks, bro. Like you see indie devs making like really good games, and you see these AAA companies releasing garbage. I think that the new metric, right? Elden Ring released at $80, right? Your game should not be able to be $80 unless it's as good as Elden Ring. And that should be the new metric for every game. This AAA company making a game $80, that should not exist. I think that your game should have to be as good as Elden Ring for it to be $80. And if it comes up short, get out of here. I remember, what was one of the trailers we watched? Gundam SD Advanced Force or whatever. $80 for a game that looks like peanuts, bro. Like, nobody's, and that's the other thing too, is they're like, oh, well, the cost of development. I don't care how much your game costs to develop. If you're going to release something for $80, it better be on par with something else that came out for $80, or else it doesn't deserve to be purchased, in my opinion, right? And like, that sounds really weird, but I don't think it should be okay for a game company to launch something like Battlefield 2042.
That was a mess.
I paid $120 for Battlefield. Steam should refund every single person that purchased Battlefield 2042. EA lied about everything, and the game is terrible. And we're stuck with the worst game that's ever come out. And yeah, sure, there's probably other games that are bad, but were they made by EA? And did they have how many hundreds of millions pumped into the game? Because it literally felt like one indie dev worked on Battlefield 2042, and his main job was like, he worked at McDonald's and he worked on Battlefield 2042 in his free time. That's how bad 2042 is.
Yeah, it was pretty bad.
Literally the worst game ever. Gamescom either hypes me up or pisses me off every single year. What was it? House of Ashes did this at the last, not this Gamescom, but the one before it. They were like, boom, here's a hype in-game trailer. Here's the cool cinematics. Game comes out tomorrow.
Yeah.
And everybody was like, oh my God. And sales were crazy. If you're going to release your game the day after your big trailer,
that's the sales pitch right there.
You're selling your game really well, right? You should have little teasers, like you said, like little teasers. Maybe you do like you pay so much, right, to be there and tease your game. You might as well make the most out of it, make some real money off of it, so that you can make the game good instead of running out of money because your dev team sucks, like, or you're bad at controlling them.
A lot of these guys went there, I noticed, right? And they just threw a CGI video together, like, this is our game coming out in 2023. Get excited, guys. And I'm like,
and then they're like, oh, the game's delayed till 2024. Oh, 2027 rolls around and you're like, man, Star Citizen still is here. You're like, cool,
they
bro.
Want me to get excited off of some CGI stuff that I know the game's not going to look like that. The game's not going to play like that. The games I was excited for Gamescom this year, they actually showed gameplay, ironically. The Fallen.
The Fallen literally is like, it's
no. It's the Lords of the Fallen.
The Lords of the
Fallen. You get the old version of the game.
Oh, excuse me. I forgot that they added a "the" to the start to really trick people. So original Lords of the Fallen, right? We're going to go over, what do we got? We got like probably like the 10 best Gamescom games that even came out, right? But like the Lords of the Fallen originally, right?
We wanted 10, but we couldn't find 10 games that we liked from Gamescom.
And if we missed one, you can let me know like your favorite game. But the Lords of the Fallen, its original inception was like the 2014 game. Looked amazing. Big shoulder pads. You know I'm all about the big shoulder pads here. You know I'm all about it. I love when games like, really add your that characters like the big space marine, badass, you know, you're cool looking. Like that's what I'm all about. I love characters like that. And it was just a Dark Souls clone, right? So
pretty much, yeah.
What I think that the new one is going to be is because Elden Ring did so well. This is going to be the Elden Ring clone.
Oh my God. You think that's a market? The first Elden Ring clone?
The first Elden Ring clone is here. And it's the Lords of the Fallen. Yeah, like, so like, again, the CGI cinematic, it's stunning. It looks really good. It gives you the epic big world feeling.
I see this, I'm like, can you guys make a TV show?
Could you imagine a company hyped a game with an anime? That would be crazy. Riot Games MMO that's coming out. Right. It's like they rebuilt the whole world just to release the greatest, largest scale game of all time. Wow. That's crazy.
I'm surprised that all these giant MMO companies, these giant IPs, all this lore don't do that too.
Yeah, World of Warcraft has like the best art team in the world, right? The best, flat out, right? Not anymore. I guess Riot does now. Tencent really crushed them on. Ooh, this is cool. What? Big men.
This could be a TV show.
This could be a TV show. You know how cool this would be as a TV show? I'd watch this. But yeah, like I'm surprised World of Warcraft never did an anime. If they put those people on an anime rather than like office crawls, that would have been really good for the game.
Not even anime, just do it like some DC animated style, like, you know?
Well, dude, just do like, dude, you could do a 20-minute anime once a month for World of Warcraft, and you could have done that for years, and people would have, you know how many people you would have kept loving the game just for like
cult following.
Yeah, the cult following that you built up and betrayed so many times. So how many people would have loved you?
People would have quit the game and still watched it.
Yeah, literally. Like I would have watched if there was a WoW thing, I would watch. I mean, Riot comes out with Arcane, I watch it instantly because I love it. I think it's so good.
Great show.
So
it's a cool fight scene. I don't know.
This is a really cool fight scene. And like I think one of the main things about the original one, because I've played it, was all the combat felt really clunky and like really weird. Right. So I'm hoping they fix that and make it like smooth, but it's supposed to be like this heavy armored. You're supposed to be this big badass that's a lot slower, you know, like you have this armor on, but like they failed to come through with like the big heavy feelings in the first one. So hopefully they have like that fluidity and like, you know, just to bring Lost Ark back, like when you're playing Destroyer, you feel like a big Dawn Crusher. Like if I'm wielding a big hammer, I want to be a big Dawn Crusher. If I'm playing BDO and I use the big two-handed sword, I want to use the big two-handed sword. You know, like I want to use all these big weapons and feel powerful. And if I'm using a small light weapon, I want to feel fast. And that's something Elden Ring, I think, did almost perfectly. There was a couple situations where they didn't, but it was very well done.
Hey, wishlist our game
wishlist
for 2023.
Could you imagine if this was like, yo, we're coming out next month, beta, here's a demo and we're coming out next month. This game would have probably, if it was good enough, competed for Game of the Year with Elden Ring, because they would have been the only two good games that came out this year.
I want to meet the one person who pre-ordered the game on like when it got announced, and they're sitting in their saying their pre-order and just waiting for the release date. Like, why?
Yeah, and the first thing I'm reading, everybody thinks the same way as us. Just reading the comments really quick, they're like, "Man, if this trailer is anything like the gameplay, it's going to be amazing, right?" So, like, if they follow through, like we said, like if the trailer is anything like the gameplay, game succeeds automatically. So,
yeah,
everybody's excited for it. It looks the Lords of the Fallen looks amazing. It was a really good trailer, right? So, hopefully, it's like, just as good as Elden Ring.
Bros.
I would love to see game, but dude, when I
can only get you so far in 2022. People want good games now. People are tired of good trailers. There's so much good trailers out there. Every company can make a good trailer if you put enough money behind it.
Like, that's true. I want to see the game be better. And looking at the 2014 game, it looks stunning. So you know the next game's going to look stunning. Hopefully, it has that gameplay that we talked about.
Hopefully.
Yeah. So our second one was Rooted.
More of a survival game.
I love survival games.
We all love survival games. Well, me and Clay do.
Yeah, most people don't, but I love them. Rooted Gamescom trailer.
So
I like the post-apocalyptic world. You know what I'm saying?
I like that. I like post-apocalyptic worlds, man.
I can't even talk.
They're always the fun.
Yeah, it's fun because like, you know, you can kind of gain a sense of this from like what would happen in real life. You can see this could happen, you know what I mean?
I think it's cool. I like survival games for like the flow, because you can like, I think 7 Days to Die and like did a good flow like this too. Like you can explore, like this guy says, you can build and like you just run around and do a lot of PvP or like kill a lot of things, you know what I mean?
I think that 7 Days to Die drawing point is that you can go do so many things, right? Its lacking point is having things like this in the game that are like, okay, I can go do this cool mission, right? Like Conan Exiles did this really well too. It's like, okay, I can go do all this.
It's like cool POIs you can go to.
Yeah, like something that Project Zomboid missed though was like having these outposts of people.
Yeah.
Because like that's 7 Days sucks because there's no people in the game other than like traders, right? So like when I'm playing these different games, I'm like, I want to see stuff like this. Like this looks like it's going to be so fun. You know, the little drone thing, 7 Days has like a little weird teddy bear drone, right? But like
drones now too, actually, in 7 Days.
Do they?
Yeah, I think so.
But yeah, like it's not like you're gonna be in this post-apocalyptic. This guy looks funny, crouch walking.
He seems like he's leaning backwards while he's walking. I'm gonna give that a 10 out of 10 just because it's actual gameplay.
I like the actual gameplay aspect, and I like that I love survival games, so that helps a lot. So our next big one is Where Winds Meet.
I think this is our favorite trailer that we laughed so hard at.
Is this the one with the little Chinese head?
Is this
the one? I don't know if this is the right one, man. I don't think this is the right one. I remember that like they keep saying like what is it? It was like Shaoxi, and I'm supposed to be saying celebrate right there, or jewelry, because like the person that was talking to us at the time speaks Mandarin, and she was like, yeah, no, they're not saying celebrate, they're saying jewelry. So like they're just chanting jewelry the entire time, and I was like, huh, isn't that awkward?
Heads.
Yeah, because like we watched it before. What trailer is this? Extended trailer. So like one thing I always liked about Chinese games, and I think a lot of people like sleep on Chinese games because of
thematic. They get a thematic thing going. They make them look good too.
Yeah. Yeah, they really, I don't know, like when I watch Chinese games, like, okay, one, I find that like Chinese architecture is awesome. Like their buildings look cool. Their their like feudal era stuff is the coolest, right?
I mean,
it has such
badass.
It looks amazing, right? I really genuinely think that like China has some of the coolest feudal era stuff and is one of the coolest like OG nations, right? And I think that there's like a mix between like I love Japan's feudal era and I love China's feudal era probably the same amount. I think that they're both just insanely cool, right? Like look how cool this guy looks, bro. Like he's got the cool weapons on his back. He's like,
curious how much customization you can do with this guy.
You know, honestly, most Chinese games have a really good customization, like character customization. Like you can make your guy look like anybody. I remember one of my really, really good friends who plays a lot of Chinese games. Like people used to make characters a certain way just for him, and they looked really, really cool. And it's so cool to see the level of customization that some people can do, right? So I hope that this game has good customization.
That's actually pretty cool.
I love it. This is so cool. Like just the teleport slash thing, like it's just there's just something epic about like
I mean it's probably super staged, but it's a cool stage clip.
The thing is, when I look at a Chinese game and like the magic,
whoa,
but that's okay. I just feel like there's a certain magic to Chinese stuff that is so cool, right? Like I don't know, like I feel like culturally the people like they're cool.
Yo, they burnt the fucking goose's home, dude.
The whole thing, I don't know. Every Chinese game I see, like especially, oh my god, Black Sun Wukong. That was one of the coolest games I've seen too. Like I don't know, Chinese mythology, Chinese stuff is just dope, honestly. So like,
that looks cool.
Yeah, like it sucks as NA because our NA mythology is like it's kind of monkas. You know what I mean? Like what kind we got like. EU's got like the Loch Ness monster and like NA's got Bigfoot, you know, and like China's like, yo, we have all these cool old gods and like even their magic's cooler. Like our magic's like fireball, you know? Ice wall.
Kind of reminds me of the Asian version of Assassin's Creed.
Oh, it does. This is Chinese Assassin's Creed, but just better than Assassin's Creed ever hope of being. Yeah, I love Chinese stuff, man. Honestly, it's just it's so cool. This is so sick. It gives me like a Red Dead vibe too. You know what I mean? The horses. Really I think that the horses give me the Red Dead vibe. This is so cool, and there's gameplay mixed in here. This is a gameplay reveal trailer. So you're getting the cinematics, you're getting the gameplay like side by side, and it's like this isn't just a stunning cinematic game; it's a stunning like gameplay game, and that's so important to me. Like if I can put my camera like this and run into the distance, see these cool POIs, all these things happening. My brain's a liquid, and it's going to be at its absolute peak seeing all this stuff.
Is that the evil waifu?
Evil Chinese waifus are the best, and let's not get it twisted.
All waifus are.
Where Winds Meet, I'm 100% picking that up. I think it's going to be amazing. It looks so cool.
Open world martial arts game.
I gassed China up way too hard right there, but this game really just gets me feeling. You deserve it when you deserve it.
You get various martial arts schools.
How long is this trail? Oh my god, it's so long. Yeah, we saw the various martial arts and various weapons.
Is that the big bad?
Yeah, I think that's the big bad. So sick.
It's a cool Buddha statue. I like this, dude.
Yeah, I definitely want to pick it up.
It's gonna be a fire game.
Solid 10. Now, I've been hyped for this next game for like over a year, so hopefully it actually comes out. They delayed it again, unfortunately, but the trailer looks amazing again. So, Warhammer 40k Dark Tide.
They can delay it as much as they want. To be honest.
Yeah.
I just want them really to release a good game. I don't mind delays now.
Dude, the Warhammer gods really dictate if a game's going to be good or bad for Warhammer specifically, and like you have to listen to the Warhammer gods when you're talking about a good or a bad game. You know, you can't be sitting here like this.
They give their rights to like everybody. You try to make a game. You try to make a game.
Yeah, well, their rights aren't expensive. It's just they take your rights away after you fail. So it is what it is, right? So you don't get a second chance. But dude, this game looks amazing. Like it's everybody who played it too, because there was a demo at Gamescom. Everybody who played it says this was one of the best, smoothest games that they've played in a long time of its type.
There's lots of gameplay footage out there already for this game. Ironically, they're not like hiding it.
It just looks so good, and I'm so happy that they decided that this is the direction of the game. Like, I think that this is well done, and I think this is what most companies should want to do.
Yeah, they upgraded Vermintide basically. They had like customization to this.
The Callisto Protocol's got me hyped up for quite a while.
Crafton. I never heard of them before, but okay.
Captured on next gen hardware.
Unreal 5?
Unreal 5. I think more games should try to port to Unreal 5. I know companies are working on it, devs are doing it, but Unreal 5 has so many opportunities, and I think that that's another big one, is more opportunities.
Oh
my dude, this is
ready.
So gruesome, dude. I love it. It really is just like Dead Space, but turned way up. Like, honestly, like Dead Space. I love Dead Space, by the way. Dead Space, one of my favorite horror games possible, right?
I like to think this is a sawdust factory because of all the logs.
Yeah. But dude, this is just maxed out. Like, this is just maxed out Dead Space. It really, really is. And I cannot wait to play it.
The monsters look good.
Dude, everything looks amazing. Dude, the backdrop is just unbelievable too. And it kind of looks pretty smooth, right? Like, I don't think it really looks.
That effect looks pretty interesting.
Ooh. 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 Oh my god. My man's got no head, and he's just like, give me them hands.
Who needs a head?
Hang on while I get my electric baton out. Bro, this thing sucks. We need a better weapon.
Wait, what did you just do?
It just ripped its body off and regrew a head. That's crazy. So your only way to kill these boys is to throw them into the meat grinder. That's insane.
I mean,
that was epic and cool. I'm down with that.
Oh no!
Oh my god! This okay. So like, this isn't my. I haven't seen something so gross, but like, you're like, yeah, I'm gonna swallow the poopy water, and then I'm going for a trip.
I keep gulping it down. Oh.
The craziest part about this is when you realize this is a gameplay trailer. Like, this is gameplay. That's what makes this game special. Is this is gameplay.
I remember seeing this for the first time and just watching this scene and being like,
"Oh, yeah, I thought this was a cinematic."
Yeah, I'm like, this is not cinematic.
Yeah, and then you're like, "Wait a minute! It's his gameplay. The whole thing is gameplay."
Bro, in reality, if this happened to me, but my dumbass would be knocking my head on the side.
Bro, I would have been, dude, the first 10 seconds I would have been knocked out drowning, bro.
I'll be crunched up on the side. I wouldn't even make it to this part.
I wouldn't have made it this far, but like, that's crazy to me that like this is the gameplay trailer. All right, now our next one is The First Descendant. I don't actually remember this trailer, so. Oh, this game looks so good.
Oh, I remember this one now.
This one looks so good.
This is the Nexon run, right?
Yeah, there's a lot of L's for Nexon, but man,
Nexon's
this could
the best track record.
I don't like just taking a dump on everything, but my games is just the worst company. But like Nexon's up there. But this game looks pretty good, and hopefully they don't mess it up like they've done to every other one of their games. Because this looks genuinely cool. And
they're trying to redo Anthem.
That's what I thought when I first saw this game. I thought that this was just Anthem reborn. And it kind of feels that way, but like more of a ground feeling than an air feeling. Because Anthem had its world ruined by like air combat. This looks like ground combat, and I think that could actually help.
No robots.
Make the game good.
Well,
you're kind of a robot, like you're in a robot suit, but like even that move, like you see a lot of inspiration from Anthem in this game. And Anthem was really cool. It's just mismanaged again to the point of just edge, right? But this game looks sick.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm a main this. I'm a main this when it comes out, by the way, bruv. I'm a main this. Bruv.
Wait for it to come out, bruv.
Hopefully it's not pay to win. I'm a brokey. You know. That looks amazing, though. It really does. This is one of the coolest that I've seen in a while.
They get some cool ass bosses going in this game. It'd be really cool.
Seems like they have that like weird tank thingy that runs at them, but like it just looks so well done. Like I can't tell. I'm pretty sure this is cinematic, right? But like you can tell that there's some gameplay in here too.
Yeah, there's a mixture of gameplay.
So I hope this game is just as amazing as it looks, because I'm into it. Like I want this to be a game. I really do.
I'm in. That's cool.
I'm already sold. Like I told you, I'm main this. Nexon, you got me hooked just with the trailer. It better be good. If you let me down for the 6,000th time, I'll just be disappointed in myself.
For another time. Thank you, Nexon.
Thank you. Ooh. I like spaceships too. Space anything gets me going, dude.
I get the Anthem vibe from it.
Okay. So our next one is Hogwarts Legacy. And I know there's a lot of Harry Potter enjoyers, so let's
This was super hyped, and then it went on delayed, and then got hyped again, got delayed, now it's hyped again.
I think the problem with a Harry Potter game in itself is that it's
MMO,
like,
by the way.
This is an MMO.
Yeah.
Okay, so the problem with a Harry Potter game in itself, right? Like when we look at
or a multiplayer RPG.
Let's just look at the Lord of the Rings fan base and the Star Wars fan base, because it's the most comparable, right? And now I don't mean to piss anybody off when I say that, but get used to it. We're all of the same. We love something, and it is what it is. There are extremely high expectations for something like this, and coming short in any singular way will make every single person that plays the game mad. I think the issue that could be the reason that it doesn't do well.
I think the issue with Harry Potter is there's no new Harry Potter fans. This is literally for people our age.
Yeah, that's true. I you know,
I'll see like 14-year-olds going like, "Ooh, Harry Potter, I'm buying this."
That's true. I don't think a lot of people love Harry Potter as much as like our gen.
They don't even know what that is, probably, bro.
No, they do. Like, there's a lot of Harry Potter hype, but like Harry Potter was hype when me and you were kids, right? Like Harry Potter was coming out. We love Harry Potter. It's the coolest thing. Everybody loved it, right? Let's not cap. Like everybody saw it. Harry Potter was cool.
Yeah, it's all adults, dude. Everybody's into Harry Potter nowadays is adults, basically.
February 10th. That's not too far out. But I think that just after watching the trailer, like the character movement, very clunky, very blocky, very slow, right? And
yeah,
there definitely needs to be some more fluidity added to the game.
The reality is like, remember Harry Potter, like those stiff as them casting those spells look like they're pooping while they're doing it.
You know what?
Abracadabra.
You know what? Maybe they could get away with the clunkiness because they do in the shows they stand still with their wand and they're like saying a whole thing. Then maybe it does work. Maybe I'm wrong.
Oh, that's all they do, right?
Okay, I'm wrong. You're right. Maybe the game's fine. All right.
Like they're not doing like a bunch of movements. It's just like
you're right. I'm the problem. I'm the complainer. I saw negativity. You saw only positives. I'm wrong. You're right.
Like the
I agree with you now.
They're just going like with the wands.
I legitimately no. I agree with you. I was completely wrong. No, I think that my opinion was wrong about that. Definitely, because like if that's how the movies were, then that's how the game should be.
Yeah, remember
that's
when
fine.
Harry was fighting the Voldemort dude, and they're just holding the wands, and the big lasers going back and forth. They're like,
yeah, yes, I remember that exactly.
Like they're clunky. They're clunky too. Like this Harry Potter itself was just clunky, dude.
I love it. I run our last trailer, the very end of the show. Dune Awakening, that just so happens to be also probably my favorite of all of them.
Survival MMO, our favorite genres combining.
Yes, sir. Now, when I first saw this, I was shocked, and I also enjoyed the Dune series and the movie.
The movie is great.
The movie was very. Some people flame the movie. I thought it was very well done, but I also think like Sharks from the Moon is a good movie. So I mean, debatable opinions, but
I think the flamers were rare, though. I think most people liked the movie. I think the flamers were like
I think so too. Weirdos. I think that Dune Awakening was. It's just well done.
Yeah, it's a great trailer.
It's a good trailer. I
really
think
cinematic-y, though. Like, we wish they had gameplay, but I don't think they have gameplay for this game.
I don't think the gameplay is ready. I think that this is very much so just to be like a teaser. It gives you like a feeling that you're. I think that's something games do wrong a lot is they don't make you feel small compared to the world, right? They make you feel very big, and that's one thing I think about. Like that Lost Ark did well in like the 30-man or 16-man raid, whatever it was, that like people never even got to experience the big raid that was out for a little while. Made you feel like a small individual. Right?
Yeah.
World of Warcraft, they don't make you feel small anymore. When you fought the Lich King, you felt small. Comparison to his power. Felt a dragon. Small.
That's the epic feeling.
Yeah, so it's very epic, very cool. I can't wait to see gameplay for Dune Awakening because if it's a true open world survival MMO and they literally do
sign up for beta.
I'm gonna sign up. If they do, if they literally just look at New World and they're like, okay, what did Amazon do wrong? And they do everything right. There's already a on paper way to do good, and all they have to do is grab that on paper way to do good and follow through on it and call it a day. And I think that they'll have a good game because New World in itself isn't a bad game. I think it's a good. I think it's a good game in theory, and then like follow through mismanagement again. When we talk about mismanagement on games, like that's the main reason games are failing now is mismanagement, and the top end is just as much of a problem as the development team most of the time. And right, it's not fair to flame just the devs. It's like you have to blame the entire company for the failures.
Do you think the Dune's big play is to release the game when they release the second movie?
I think that they release the second movie. I think exactly what happens when the Dune game comes out. The second movie is going to come out probably a month or two before. And if you buy a ticket to the movie or something for the movie, then the game comes out and you get a special thing in the game, a cosmetic, something really, really cool and interesting. And not only will the movie sell out, they'll have the artificial sales for the movie online, which like people will just buy for the cosmetics, right? That'll up their movie sales big. So like everybody already loved Dune 1, so Dune 2, it's already really going to do well. Now everybody's going to buy it, right?
Or like buy the subscribe, get the game and get a free movie ticket.
Oh, pre-order the game and get a free movie ticket, bro. Nobody's ever done that.
Like they could, man. Legendary Pictures partnered up with them, right?
Oh my god, bro. Dude, Dune has the most potential in the entire world, bro, to do something insane other than the Riot MMO. Riot MMO is going to destroy everything. How many people do you know that haven't played League of Legends that play video games?
Yeah, actually, yeah.
The future of games is getting better right now because toxic monetization is being tolerated, and you can see that in Diablo 4. And any game that comes out with toxic monetization is being just chastised. And
yeah, people don't like it anymore.
I think that most people need to start understanding that as long as we band together against toxic monetization, these companies don't have a choice but to not do it, because then their games die and they lose money. We can do this together.
Rise up and say no.
Yeah, it's beyond time to stop accepting
money
this.
on like fun things, like going out and doing things with your money.
No, I don't go outside. I want to buy costumes instead of paying money to progress my character. How dare you go outside, sir? I want to look cool.
That's true. My bad.
Unbelievable.
I'm a loser.
I'm wearing, yeah, you are a loser. I'm wearing a black Amazon Basics t-shirt. I don't want to look cool IRL. I want to look cool in game.
Me too.
Stupid.
Silly.
Yeah, but nothing looks as cool as the patrons. I want to thank you guys again. You guys really, really help out. If you want any updates, just join the Discord. Like it's a really active Discord. We have tons of people in the Discord now, and like we're going to start doing more community events. Like there's going to be the Minecraft server is going to be coming up really soon.
Minecraft event, yeah.
We're doing the Minecraft massive event. We've been planning for a while. We've had some technical difficulties with one of the computers. I bought new parts for it, so that's not going to be an issue anymore. And the Minecraft server event's going to be coming in like hot. And we're going to be doing some really cool stuff on the Minecraft server. So make sure you come check us out. And I'm going to first post that, and the first invites are going out for that in the Discord. So make sure you're there for it.
Yeah, if you want to take part, keep an eye out for that.
Yep. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I'm saying.